Welcome back, Endgame community. As you know, I'm Pierre and he's Chris. We're here to talk about week 14, talk about waiver wire pickups, guys that you should be adding for the stretch run, and of course, if you're in a must-win situation, some people still fighting to get into the playoffs. Never give up. Never give up until you're mathematically eliminated, right? And then we're also going to talk trades. I know some of you trade deadline has passed. There's plenty of leagues that still have trade action going on. If you're in a dynasty league, well, trading is usually going on year round. You might be looking ahead towards next year. You might want to think about some long-term trades. So anyways, we're here to answer all your questions. Of course, if you have some start-sit questions, we'll answer those too. Although you do want to join us, of course, on Saturday night, where we're here for a full 3 hours, just like we are tonight, with all the latest injury information, updates, and of course, we'll tell you how we feel about all the players that you care about. For now, before we start getting into the comments and the questions, a couple of reminders for those who have only been with us a short time, or maybe not at all. If you're new, welcome, first of all.
Yeah.
We do try to answer as many comments and questions as possible. It's not always feasible to get to even half of them. We will do as many as we can. We'll try to talk about as many different players as we can. So that way, maybe we have the same player repeated, and we'll try to get you as much information as we can on a bunch of different players. Maybe your question gets answered through somebody else's question. But if you want to guarantee that your question gets answered, use the super chat feature. It pops up for us. We put it on the screen, and we will definitely answer them all before we go. All right, so that's like your fast pass to getting an answer. Now, also, you might want to know about our Patreon. If you see down below, patreon.com/fantasyfootballendgame. All right, so that's a way to join. And the patrons get, besides their own private start-sit show on Sunday morning, 2 hours before kickoff, where we answer all your questions. We also provide weekly rankings. About to drop those after the show is up tonight. All sorts of content for the off season, which isn't too far off, sadly, but there's so much more. So check it out if you get a chance. And then, of course, don't forget the Discord. Keeps growing, always active in there. You can have a say in our amazing community, and Discord link is also down below in the description. It's free, it's easy, and you can talk football 24/7 anytime you want. All right. The last thing I need to remind you of before we get into the questions is give us a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. I think you'll find that we are definitely the most involved fantasy community, and we are basically every day on the grind, and that includes the off season. Already starting to do some research on the draft class. Who we're going to pick next year. Guys, we will be mock drafting all year long. If you want to join in on that and draft with us, that's the way to do it. All right, so hit subscribe and the notification bell so you know every time we drop new content. All right, now, Chris, before we start getting the questions, I think everybody should be aware. Look, there's some huge news today. The Rams are back, baby, and they're now a contender. And I know there's a lot of guys you could pick up on waivers, but it's pretty clear Baker Mayfield is the savior. I mean, this is a perfect match.
Yeah, perfect match. A team going nowhere this year, getting a quarterback probably maybe on his last team. I don't know. You know what's crazy about that? The report was the Rams were the only team that even put in a waiver claim on him. Like no other team. Even the 49ers, who have lost both of their starting QBs, were like, nah, we're good with Brock Purdy. We don't need Baker Mayfield.
The first player taken in the draft years ago, Brock Purdy was the last player taken in this year's draft. And then they're like, no, we're good. I mean, I get it. He's been there all year. He played last week. He's in the system. Like, obviously, Kyle Shanahan doesn't want to mess with things. So you had a playoff team there, basically. Not the Texans. The Houston Texans, who are like, Davis Mills not good enough. Let's try Kyle Allen, who's throwing more to the other team than his own team. I really thought the Texans could be like, yeah, what the hell? At least let's give him a try. No, the Texans are like, we're good.
Yeah.
That's yeah. That tells you something. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
But enough Baker Mayfield talk. I think that's just confirmation of what I said. I have no interest in having any part of anybody who's on the Denver Broncos or the Los Angeles Rams for the rest of 2022. except for Cam Akers. Okay. What is up, Mr. Jones? First comment here. Would you drop Burks to pick up Cook? Maybe Kenneth Walker misses this week. What do you think?
Yeah, it's not sounding good for Walker this week because they just signed Wayne Gallman to the practice squad, which is usually a pretty clear indication they don't expect Walker to play. But I'm not dropping Burks. I mean, even if Ken Walker misses this week, you're going to want Burks for the fantasy playoffs. He's looking really good. And look, he got concussed, but he caught that nice touchdown before he got concussed. He's involved. He's clearly the best receiver on the Titans, like by a country mile. There's got to be somebody else you could drop besides Burks to pick up Cook, I would think.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, you might need a running back. I mean, obviously, you're talking about picking up a running back because of the injury. I mean, maybe look, this is a heavy bye week, 6 teams, so maybe you just don't have any insurance there. Maybe he's better than what you got. But yeah, I'd prefer not to drop Burks. And it's funny, the other news that kind of just happened. This is actually, I mean, it's not good for him, but I think it's kind of funny that the Titans GM just got fired after AJ Brown torched him. Coincidence?
Yeah, probably not.
Probably
pretty
not.
crazy. They just extended him and then they fired him.
Because they looked, I mean, Burks was a good pick. I mean, perfect fit, great player, so good pick there. But then they look, and then now they're like, oh, Burks might be out. And they're looking around the wide receiver room. They're like, okay. Here's a quickie. Jacob wants to know, is Tony worth keeping for the playoffs?
I mean, it depends on who you're going to drop him for. Like, I would drop him for James Cook for sure if you need running back help. But I'm not going to drop him, for nothing. Like, I'm not going to drop him for, I don't know, who somebody people are asking about right now who I think has, like, no long-term value. I don't even know. But anyways, like, I can't think off the top of my head. But I wouldn't drop him for somebody who's, like, not really going to play. Like, I wouldn't drop him for Corey Davis. Let me just say that. Like, if you're like, I just want some wide receiver depth, let me go get Corey Davis, who I don't mind. I'd rather just keep Tony. You know what I mean?
I mean, I'd rather have Corey Davis, but yeah, look, Tony is, I mean, we said it, right? A couple weeks ago, we're like, we got tricked, not doing it again, not getting sucked in. He'll play a couple snaps, his ankle gets hurt or whatever. No, I'm not, no. Sorry. Tony, too much. Okay. What about this one? I think we do have some super chats, but before we don't want any messy situations here. Rick's brain is exploding. He needs to know Etienne or Pacheco.
I mean, I'm assuming start sit and not waiver wire.
I'm assuming start sit.
I still got to go with Etienne. I mean, Pacheco's been good, but it's because he's scoring touchdowns, and now he gets a really tough matchup against the Broncos, who, if nothing else, have been really good defensively. So, yeah, I know Etienne gets a really tough matchup too, but I just believe in the talent of Etienne more than Pacheco. So if I had to choose, I'm going with Etienne.
Yeah, I mean, Etienne, obviously been disappointing the last couple of weeks and clearly a far worse matchup than last week. But yeah, in this case, it is close. Like, I think it is much tougher than people might even realize. I would still give the edge to Etienne, although I've been saying it. I always have trust issues, and they haven't gone away with Jacksonville running back. So now this one is interesting because you can answer this question by watching our wide receiver video when it comes out, start sit. So I'm going to save that for you. Just keep you in suspense. When you see our wide receiver start sit video for this week, you'll see what we think about Christian Watson.
Is Green Bay on bye this week? Isn't Green Bay on bye this week?
Yeah, Green Bay is on bye this week, but
so you're not going to start him this week. But
you don't want to, yeah.
But I'll tell you this. I will say this, Matt. If you want to know, well, at least my thoughts on Christian Watson, and I'm sure Pierre agrees with me. We pretty much feel the same about him. Go on our channel and watch our skyrocketing players video in there, because I do talk about him and how I feel about him going forward as well. So you can get an idea of that there.
There you go. And then another question, hype or not, James Cook. A lot of James Cook questions, of course. He was the first guy I talked about on the waiver wire video. I didn't go out and say, drop all your fab, must add, you have to have him. And we didn't say he's a must start either. But do you think he's legit as an option?
I think he's legit if you understand what you're getting. Like, is he going to be, a workhorse, league winning back down the stretch? Probably not. But if you're in a PPR format, he's going to catch a bunch of passes. He's going to get enough run. I look at him as like an every week RB2, with upside in this offense. And I think right now, honestly, you shouldn't have a lot of fab left. Honestly, you probably should drop all your fab on James Cook because it's week 14. If you're still sitting on $100 of like all your fab money, then of course don't. But I would bid at least, I would bid all of it if I only had like a quarter of my fab left. But if I had, let's say I was, because you can look at your standings and you can see how much fab everybody has. Let's say I'd never used any fab this year, and the next closest player had like 70. I would bid 71 on James Cook because we're in week 14. You can't sit around here wait till week 18 to use all your fab. Like it's like a timeout, right? There's no point in ending the season with fab money. There's no point. So it's unlikely we're going to get a better running back option than James Cook between now and the end of the season.
Yeah, I typically like to save at least a couple of bucks because guys get hurt even in the playoffs. You might win your first round, and I'm speaking from experience, right? This is why I say you win, let's say the first round of the playoffs, you have a bye or whatever, and then the guy you thought you could just plug in there as your RB2 or your RB1 just goes down, and then you look at your bench, and maybe his replacement was on waivers because you never thought you would have to pick him up. I like to save at least a little bit of money, but yeah, I don't expect a better option than James Cook to come along. But again, like, how have you felt about Devin Singletary all year up until, before last week? That's kind of how you should feel about James Cook. A little more upside, I would say, but not significantly more. So yeah, he could be a solid RB2, but Devin Singletary is still there. Is Derrick Henry going to bounce back after an atrocious performance?
I don't know. He's dust. Look, he just is. He's dust. Okay, like he can't. You can't expect Derrick Henry. He doesn't break a bunch of tackles. He doesn't rip off long runs anymore. He needs the volume. You still have to start him. Is he going to bounce back? I don't know, but I'm just hoping for next week in week 15 when he plays the Chargers that he bounces back. And then the week after that when he plays the Texans, he bounces back.
Again, Chris had talked about this a couple of weeks ago. Great schedule for Derrick Henry. Well, you guys saw our video also on top 10 playoff running backs. The schedule is great. This should be a great spot for him. It's against Jacksonville, right?
I feel like we've said that for like 2 weeks in a row, and he runs for like 2.5 yards per carry.
But to be fair, Jacksonville versus Philly. And Philly's run defense have been bad, but Philly's the best team in the NFC, if not the NFL. So
yeah,
it's a little different.
No, look, if he bombs this week, and I know I wasn't able to do a panic video this week, but if he bombs this week, it's full-fledged panic mode on Derrick Henry. Like, heading into the playoffs, your RB1 running, looking terrible, it'll be full-fledged panic. So we'll see. But you're right. He should smash it.
He should be. Yeah, he should. But it doesn't matter. You have to start him anyways. You're going to start.
Yeah, you got to start him. You still got to start him.
All right. And then Kelsey, we helped get from 1 to 2 to 11 to 2. That's nice. That's quite a streak. All right. Trying to stack my bench. Okay. So James Cook or Zonovan Knight? Fair question because both are viable, kind of similar situations. Well, who do you like better?
Yeah, but I like James Cook a little bit better because, look, Knight's been nice, but when Carter played, like 2 weeks ago when James Robinson was a healthy scratch, Michael Carter was clearly ahead of Zonovan Knight before he got injured. And I know, look, people said this last year, like, oh, with Khalil Herbert. Like, Khalil Herbert's looked really good. When Montgomery comes back, Khalil Herbert's going to be the lead guy, and Montgomery's going to be his backup now. And then, no, it was exactly how it was before Montgomery got hurt. Now, I don't expect Michael Carter to be a workhorse like Montgomery. I'm just using that as an example. I would still expect Michael Carter to be the lead back here, with Zonovan Knight being kind of in the James Robinson role, if you could think back to when those two were both playing. So I would prefer James Cook because A, he's a rookie, and we know rookies usually tend to get better as the season goes on. B, he's a great pass catcher. That's what they drafted him for, right? Was to be that pass catching back. And he's on the Bills. So I prefer James Cook.
I mean, typically what you want to go for is the higher volume, whoever's going to get more touches, and who's in the better position offensively, who's in the better offense. Well, Cook is in the better offense, even though you can talk records. I mean, probably the Bills will finish with a better record than Jets, but still, it's definitely a better offense. Who's going to get more touches? Well, if you look at last week, you say, well, Zonovan Knight, and he got 5 passes because I said something about, well, I don't know about his pass catching floor. And someone said, well, he caught 5 passes. But when Michael Carter comes back, who do you think is going to catch more passes? And that's why I said Zonovan Knight is a good pass catcher. He is. But this offense with Mike White isn't necessarily going to dump the ball off as often. He's more of a gunslinger. That's why you've seen the wideouts kind of go off, and you've seen the tight end not get used as much. You've seen the running backs not really been used as much as pass catchers in general. But that said, I feel better about Cook because he's basically going to split time with one other running back, and he's got more touchdown upside. He just does. All right. And then Nick H. Drop Wilson. Jeff Wilson, I'm guessing, not Garrett Wilson.
I mean, again, it depends for who. Probably. I mean, but he only played like 30% of the snaps last week. It was weird. Like
one carry.
One carry. I mean, like they couldn't really run the ball, right? Because they were getting blown out. But still, Mostert had more of the work, played more of the snaps. So, yeah, you got to be a little worried about Jeff Wilson. My only reservation is because it's the Chargers this week. It's like, man, such a good matchup. But if you're never going to start Jeff Wilson, yeah, you can drop him.
I think he's droppable. I mean, last week was obviously the low for him, but again, it was very obvious Dolphins' game plan was not to run the ball. Like, just not even try. This San Francisco is second, number 2 run defense in the league. I don't know if they're still number 2, maybe number 1 now. I'd have to go back and check because they were behind Tennessee. They might be number 1 now. So they just didn't even try. And so it wasn't just him. Like, nobody ran the ball, period, for Miami. What's worrisome more so, like you said, is that Mostert did get more touches, but I think Wilson is a possibility at flex this week because of all the bye weeks, but he's also droppable if you have better options. So he's just going to be a risky flex heading forward. Roberto is ready. Let's go,
Roberto.
All right, let's get to the super chats. Healing meditation. Mixon, Connor for Taylor. All right, some trade action. Love to see it. First round bye, thinking to take the gamble because of his schedule. Taylor, I mean, even in a worst possible game script you could against the Cowboys, just dominated them. Taylor didn't look bad. He's still looking pretty good as a runner. So, who do you like?
I'll take Taylor because you have the first round bye. Mixon has a brutal schedule. Connor, I'm assuming you're not going to ever start Connor like he's like a bench running back for you or something. So for your team, this is essentially Mixon for Taylor. And I would prefer Taylor because, like you said, way better playoff schedule. Looks great. Mixon's got just a brutal playoff schedule. So if you're getting Taylor and you already have a bye, I would do this.
Yeah, again, assuming it's not Mixon is your RB1 and Connor's your RB2. Assuming you have somebody else you can play and start at running back, hopefully. If you have a first round bye, yeah, Connor's probably not been in your starting lineup all year. Go back to that video. I don't think too much has changed. Top 10 running backs. We got Mixon barely in the top 10, or it was top 12, but he is low because the schedule is terrible. This was before, right? When we did that, that was before he missed the 2 games with concussion, and Samaje Perine looked kind of better than Mixon. Now, I know Mixon's still going to be the guy. I know Perine's not going to all of a sudden be 50-50 with him. But you have to wonder if Perine gets a little bit more involved than he would normally have been. It's the schedule. I'd rather have Taylor, so I'd do it too. All right, Ben, what is up? Lamar's injured. Got Lawrence, but he's also questionable. Yeah, I remember that one play right before the half. He got rolled on. I mean, I think he'll be okay. But anyways, Goff, White, Huntley, Jones and Tannehill on the waiver. Who do you like? Or do you stick with Lawrence?
I like Goff this week. At home again against Minnesota, a terrible secondary, a terrible passing defense, just not really a good defense at all in any way. I think this is going to be a very high-scoring game. I like Goff a lot this week. He looked great last week. Again, if this was in Minnesota, I probably wouldn't like Goff very much, but the fact that it's at home against a bad defense, I'm rolling with Goff this week.
Yeah, I know Mike White is like kind of tempting, especially put up yards, but let's remember he didn't throw a touchdown, had 2 picks.
Well,
it's the Bills.
Yeah,
at Buffalo.
That's what I was gonna say.
And then Tyler Huntley. I know a lot of Lamar owners are going to want to pivot to Huntley. Let's remember he's basically a lesser version of Lamar, and Lamar had not been doing great this year until the first couple of weeks. Great, and then since then. He was, what has he been, like the QB 13, I think it was, since week 4. Okay, so you want a lesser version of that. And remember, the last game he started last season in place of Lamar was against Pittsburgh, and he was terrible. It was kind of like, well, it was worse than Mike White because he had 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and he didn't throw for 376 yards. He threw for I think it was 176 yards. In other words, I'm not trusting Tyler Huntley this week on the road in Pittsburgh. So I go Goff too. And Goff, looking up the last time he played Minnesota this year, 277, 1 touchdown.
But that was in Minnesota. Now he's at home where he's been much better this year.
But he is much better. The whole Detroit offense, as you see, is for some reason just really good at home. And they've been cooking lately. So, yeah, the answer is Goff, oddly enough. Humberto, welcome back. All right, is it wrong to lose on purpose so another team doesn't get in?
I would say it's wrong if you just bench your whole team. But if you want to put together a starting lineup that you feel is not your best lineup, I think that's okay. If you want to put some guys in, over your studs to try to lose, I think that's okay. But I don't think you should ever leave your lineup empty. That's not within the competitive spirit.
Well, here's the real question is how mad will your league mates be and how much do you care if you do throw the game and this happens the way you want it to be? Because yeah, you're going to have to think about dealing with whatever happens lately. So if you feel like it's not a big deal, and I mean, you're giving yourself an edge. Obviously, that's a smart play strategically, but I would just think about the other side of it, what's going to happen later. Just saying, don't, and especially if you're in a league where there is veto, don't be surprised then if you do this and then every trade you try to make just is automatically vetoed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, or next year you're not even in. Next year they're you're not even playing.
Yeah, well there you go. You could really trigger somebody. Look, if that team that's strong that you help not to get in the playoffs by tanking is the commissioner.
Yeah, probably find a new league then.
Right, but you could strategically kind of maybe not play or forget that a guy's questionable and leave him in your lineup accidentally. There's ways around it. Just play it smart. Maybe you can throw your lineup because I know you're usually with us on Saturday. Throw your lineup and questions on Saturday, and we'll see maybe there's a smart way to do it. Okay, do I keep? I'm guessing that's Pirine.
Yeah, I think you got to keep Pirine. I mean, we've seen if Mixon goes down, he's going to get all the work there. So yeah, definitely keep Pirine.
You've seen, look, we talked about weeks ago, this is the time to start stashing those RB handcuffs. If you guys have seen the running back handcuff video, these are the guys that you're not going to start unless, well, guess what? Last 2 weeks, unless happened with Joe Mixon. And then you're glad that you stashed Pirine. Last year, if you've been holding Alexander Madison all year, you were glad that you held him on here because Dalvin Cook went down right before the playoffs. So anyways, yes, Pirine has shown he's worth holding on to. Marco Pelletieri, good to see you again too. All right, what do we think of the Ayuk situation based on no Jimmy G and Brock Purdy? We kind of talked about this a little bit on on Sunday and on the videos for this week. But what do you think?
Yeah. Well, so we do, of course, tomorrow wide receiver video will drop, but I'll just say right now, the pass catchers I'm really worried about are Kittle and Ayuk. I'm definitely worried about Ayuk because Ayuk is the guy who is the more vertical down the field guy in this offense. Not saying that's all he does. He doesn't just run go routes, but I'm saying like the routes he runs are more of the down the field type of routes. I'm not sure Brock Purdy can support that. I mean, we saw it. He had 9 targets, but he only had like 3 catches. Is that right? So that's my worry with Ayuk. Whereas like a guy like Debo, screens, slants, curl, quick routes like that. So yeah, I'm a little nervous about Ayuk. I'm not gonna lie.
And the matchup this week isn't great against Tampa Bay. He caught 5 for 46 on 9 targets.
All right,
nothing
not
great.
Too bad, but I mean that
like
46. Pretty low
that's
for
the thing. He hadn't really been putting up massive yardage this year, since he's been finding the end zone and he'd been getting by on some target share. I don't think what you saw this past week with Purdy in there was any sort of design based on the defense or any fluke. I think that's what we're going to see going forward. It's going to be a lot of CMC and Debo. And that makes sense because who are the most talented players they have on offense? It's CMC and Debo. We should be seeing that anyways. I mean, yeah, Kittle is super talented as a tight end, but there's not a connection there. It's a lot easier for a young quarterback who's going to make his first start ever to hand the ball off or dump the ball off to Christian McCaffrey or throw a screen pass or hand it off to Debo. I'm pretty sure that's what we're going to see a lot of, especially early on. So Ayuk isn't like a must sit, but he's definitely closer to like just a flex option than what he had been, which is a pretty solid wide receiver 3. And then out of these 3, who do you start? Chubb, Stevenson, Pollard. Wait, it says out of these 3? Okay. I think you mean pick 3. Okay. Chubb, Stevenson, Pollard, Wilson, Mostert.
Well, if we're only picking 1, it's Chubb. If we're picking 3, it's the first 3, Chubb, Stevenson, and Pollard.
Yeah. I mean, I know the matchup's good for the Dolphins running back, but who's going to get the touches? And no. Chubb is still a must start. Ramondre is a solid start. And Pollard, I mean, smash spot.
Yeah, smash spot for Pollard this week.
All right, Anthony Cervantes. Got Hurts, Eckler, Henry, Schultz, the Sun God, A.J. Brown, Godwin, Keenan Allen, and Lockett.
Jeez.
Okay. So we have to pick 3 of those receivers. I think they're all pretty good. Who do you like the best?
Man. I think I'm sitting Godwin. It's close. It's close, but man, I mean, Brady looks bad. I mean, I know he pulled off that miraculous comeback, but I mean, Godwin had a ton of targets, but just like, what do you have? Like 63 yards on 8 catches or something? What you know what I mean? Like, just not gonna rack up huge games without a touchdown. So, and against my Chargers against Miami, I know the Miami secondary's been better, but I just feel like that game could be like a higher scoring, back and forth kind of game. They're gonna have to keep up with that Miami offense. Whereas the Bucks, they just play these low scoring, games. So I don't want to bench Godwin, but actually, and you got Lockett too.
That's the thing. You're gonna have to bench 2 of those guys.
I mean, I'm benching Godwin and Lockett, I think, but man, I mean, I hate it. I hate it.
I mean, to some extent, maybe it matters if Mike Williams does play this week. Don't know if he will, how great you feel about him. I mean, to me, the Sun God, no questions asked. You're starting him. A.J. Brown, we're going to put back in the must-start category. So it's between those last 3. I actually do like Godwin this week, but I think the way Lockett's been playing, it's so hard to sit him. I mean, it's hard to sit any of these guys. So I think I would probably go Lockett based on the matchup. All right. Now we got Rifari Cooper. You got Pat Mahomes and Jalen Hurts. I don't know how you did that, but okay. Who do you start?
You gotta go with Hurts this week. Probably Hurts every week, honestly, but Hurts definitely this week. Mahomes against the Broncos, like, I mean, look, he's Patrick Mahomes. It's not like you're worried about the matchup, but we saw that even last week against Cincinnati. Like, against a good defense, maybe he's not going to throw for 300 plus yards and 3 touchdowns. Hurts, definitely playing Hurts this week.
Yeah, I think most weeks the answer just is Hurts, as you've seen, and not just because of Mahomes let down last week, but it's Denver. It's going to be a low-scoring game most likely, and low-scoring, for Kansas City, relatively speaking. But yeah, I think you got to go Hurts. So in this week, it's pretty easy call, I think. All right, let's see. All right, kind of a similar question here from Kobe. Drop Jeff Wilson for Cook.
I would. Because even if Jeff Wilson does great this week, what are you going to do like in the playoffs when he's got New England and Buffalo? Maybe you'll start him against Green Bay if you get that far.
Yeah, I can do that for sure. Yeah. And then Ice Cold Jones. Which order for waiver priority? James Cook is out there. Madison is out there. I guess Mason and Goff. That name doesn't quite fit. I mean,
if you have to win this week and you lost Lamar or Jimmy G, I don't know why you'd be starting Jimmy G, but maybe that's why you have to win this week. But you know what I mean? Like if you have to win this week and you need a quarterback, then I would prioritize Goff. But that's the only way I would prioritize Goff. Like you have to win this week and you lost Lamar or you've been streaming quarterback and it's been terrible for you. But otherwise, I'm not prioritizing Goff because I assume if you're going to make the playoffs, you have a better quarterback than Goff. Like maybe you have, a quarterback that's on bye this week and whatever. So assuming you don't need Goff for the playoffs, I would prioritize him Cook, Madison, and Mason.
Yeah, I think in that order because we know Madison is probably the most high-end handcuff, but Cook's actually playing now, and he's got pretty good upside. I think Madison, obviously, if Dalvin Cook was to go down, Madison would be more valuable than James Cook. But for now, I would say Cook first because he's at least usable. And then Dion Saldana. Thoughts on Rashid Shaheed?
All right, so no joke. On Monday, before the game, I was going in my sleeper app, and I was in our King League, which is a deep Superflex league, and I'm like, well, let me just see who's on the waiver wire, who's playing tonight. That maybe I can just throw him on my bench. And I saw Shaheed, and I was like, yeah, I should probably just put him on my bench and just see what happens. I'm like, nah, he's not gonna do anything. Oh, wish I would have put him on my bench, but no. Like, what did he have? Like 3 catches. He had like a long touchdown, and that was it. Like, yeah, he's okay in like really deep leagues. If you're like, well, I just need a flyer who can hopefully score a long touchdown. But yeah, I'm not really adding him in probably any league, honestly.
I mean, believe it or not, he's been more effective than Jarvis Landry in that offense. He's at least getting yardage.
It's not saying much.
But yeah, I mean, like good player. He's just not getting enough usage. You can't trust him. I wouldn't go ahead and add him. I haven't mentioned him for that reason. I mean, this whole Saints offense is just not that great. So, and so even though I know I've been saying I don't even care Cortland Sutton. Would you drop Cortland Sutton for Shaheed?
No.
Even I don't think I would go that far. I don't.
That's
so.
Too much.
Here's a reasonable question. Big BS. Is Cup still holding a redraft?
No. What? There's no chance Cup is playing this year. They've already shut down Matthew Stafford for the season. I'm pretty sure they shut down Aaron Donald for the season, right? Isn't he done for the season? Maybe not officially, but
Stafford's gone. A-Rob, Cup is not coming back. Why would he? Why would they play him?
They're not going
to play him.
They're not going to play Cooper Kupp this year. No, he's done.
And even if they did, what are we going to get? Baker Mayfield. now. Throwing to Cooper Cup, I think he could manage to find a way to even kill his value. I really think he could.
It definitely could.
All right. Another waiver wire question. Again, I know, guys, we have a lot of questions. We're still trying to catch up as always. We will get to as many as we can. Going to do the super chats first. I want to try to answer as many questions about different players, and we will try to do waiver wire or trade questions first. All right. I know you got start sit questions, but remember, Saturday, we're going to be here for start sit. And it's a little early, but I get it. You want to set your lineups. All right. Which tight end do you like better, Dulcich or Bellinger?
Well, between these two, I'm going to go with Dulcich again because the Broncos may be without Cortland Sutton. Jerry Jeudy, he played like 30% of the snaps. Even with Cortland Sutton hurt, he was barely on the field. That's why Dulcich had such a nice game, because it's like there's no wide receivers. There's no wide receivers anymore. So I'm going to go with Dulcich, assuming that Sutton probably misses with the hamstring injury. Jeudy not even close to, I don't even know what. So I'm going to give Dulcich a slight edge.
I'm just going to hold firm on my anti-Broncos stance. I'm going to go Bellinger. And look, I mentioned Bellinger a few times mid-season. I like him. He's back. Just came back from that eye injury. I think he'll get a few targets. I'd rather take a shot on Bellinger. But it's interesting. He says, I'm going to drop Jameson Williams. Okay, that's fine. Got no problem with that. Kittle ain't cutting it. I mean, are you going to start one of those two guys over Kittle?
Probably not. Probably not.
No. I mean, we're worried about Kittle, but I'm not like Greg Dulcich over Kittle worried.
Yeah, true.
So, anyways, I mean, I get you can pick one of these, like do that move, pick up a tight end instead of Jameson Williams. I wouldn't sit Kittle just yet. Okay, here's a problem. Corey says that half of his team is on bye this week. All right, so your other options are Gerald Everett and Marvin Jones.
Well, I don't know who your tight end is, but I'd probably prefer Gerald Everett between these two. I mean, Marvin Jones every now and then will have one of these games where it's like, ooh, Marvin Jones. And then he disappears for like 3 weeks, 4 weeks. At least Everett is a tight end on the Chargers, good offense. So, again, without knowing your team in a vacuum, I'd prefer Everett if I'm picking one of these guys up.
Yeah, I actually, just for fun, in one of my leagues, I just needed somebody to throw off the waiver wire to flex. I threw Marvin Jones in there. I was like, hey, it's Detroit. He's going back home. And Jacksonville should put up points. Like, I did not. So, yeah. Lesson learned. No more Marvin Jones.
Yeah.
Havahu. 2 flex PPR league starting Diggs and Raw. Okay. I guess the Sun God. Eckler and CMC. Which 2 should I start at the flex? Mixon, Swift, Etienne, Godwin, and Cooper.
Well, assuming Mixon plays, I'm going Mixon and Swift. I mean, Mixon against the Browns, I can't pass on that. And Swift looks all the way back, and now it's the Vikings. I can't at home. I can't pass on that. I mean, I do like Godwin this week, but again, yeah, he's okay. Etienne in the tough spot, and Cooper, man, I mean, Deshaun Watson looked all sorts of bad. So I'm going Mixon and Swift. Now, if Mixon doesn't play again, then I'll go Swift and Cooper. I mean, Swift and Godwin. Sorry.
Completely agree. You see what Swift did. You got to keep Swift in there. And then Mixon, yeah, I'm putting over those two. Mixon should play. I mean, they've basically said, he could have been active, basically. Yeah. They just like playing it safe, which is weird that they would do that against the Chiefs, but they still won, so. Edit 718. Would you drop Sutton? Yes. Gibson or Burks for Cook? Okay, well,
I'll drop Sutton here.
Would you rather drop Sutton than Gibson?
Yeah, at least Gibson, has a path to relevance. I mean, maybe that path passed him by because maybe now Brian Robinson actually is maybe it just took Brian Robinson this long to get over the shooting, as far as getting healthy or getting used to the NFL game, or who knows what it is, but he looks a lot better the last 2 weeks. But still, Gibson is at worst a Robinson injury away from being a bell cow running back who catches passes. So I would drop Sutton for Cook. I'm not dropping Burks. Too much upside with Burks.
No. And you look, if you're going to hold on to a guy who's kind of just fringe, roster hold, flex possibility, give me the running back with some upside potential. Even with Sutton he's technically the wide receiver 1. Even with Judy out, what is he giving you? He's not giving you anything, and it's not his fault. Like, he wants to give it to you. He wants to give you fantasy points, and he's being held back. So I'd rather just keep the guy who has a path to relevance, and that would be Gibson. All right. I guess this is a start sit. Okay, Mostert or Zonovan Knight?
I mean, this should be Mostert, but you can't. You can't. We have no idea. Like, this week, Jeff Wilson will get like 70% of the snaps and like 20 carries and go off or something. Like, who knows what's going to happen in that backfield? Zonovan Knight.
It is Zonovan Knight. Did look good. Carter, obviously it's too early to know. I mean, haven't practiced yet. Even if he does play, I think Knight gets the lead role because he's been really good, and Carter coming back from injury. This feels to me, Saleh, obviously a disciple of Kyle Shanahan in San Francisco. He's a guy who will just throw anybody in there running back. Like, he literally doesn't care who it is. He'll go a hot hand. I think Knight is fine this week. I definitely feel better about him than I did last week based on matchup, and he was fine last week. You can't start Mostert, though.
No.
And Dawn, give a shout out to Dawn because earlier in the chat she said, finally caught us live, I guess. Never gets to,
nice.
So I'm glad you're here. All right, Leon. I see Leon's been very active in the chat. So let's put this one up. Pickup sleeper, Jordan Love for week 17. It might not be that long.
Yeah, it might not be that long, but I mean, yeah. Hopefully, if you're playing in week 17, you have a better quarterback than Jordan Love.
Well, but here's the problem. Aaron Rodgers wants to play until they're eliminated. Well, they're on bye this week, and so they can't be – I don't think they can be eliminated yet. It's too soon. So you're going to get at least – yeah, maybe it will be week 16, 17. But if you're in a super flex league, I guess you could pick them up.
Yeah.
Okay, Miles, this is just kind of wrong. Should I drop Najee or Jeff Wilson for James Cook?
Come on, you can't drop Najee. He's still a workhorse. You can drop Jeff Wilson for James Cook.
Can't drop Najee. Najee's just coming alive. He's looked pretty good the last couple of weeks. All right. And then Stephen B, appreciate the content. We appreciate you watching and, of course, the super chat here. So Stephen is stuck on who to start. Jamal Williams, Jeff Wilson, who we just said is droppable, Mostert, who we just said you can't start, or James Cook. I know you're down on Jamal Williams. Are you starting James Cook over Jamal Williams?
If it's PPR, I am. I mean, look, what are we getting from Jamal Williams? You just got back-to-back touchdown games and got nothing. Like, if you watch our running back video that dropped today, I said in there, he's not a touchdown-dependent running back. He's a double touchdown-dependent running back. You need 2 touchdowns. And look, he can do it. But if he doesn't, what are you getting? And if he gives you no touchdowns, like if and not only that, DeAndre Swift has just taken over 18 carries to 11 or whatever, or 14 carries to 11. Jamal only played 30% of the snaps last week. It's like, what if Swift goes up to, like he was in the beginning of the season, 60% snap share? And Jamal only gets 8 or 9 carries. And now you're left with 3 fantasy points? No, I'll go with Cook and I'll gamble. Not only that, Jets are 8th, give up the 8th most receptions to running backs, and I think they're going to have to lean on him because Gabe Davis and Isaiah McKenzie, like even Diggs might struggle this week. We saw with Minnesota last week, like Jefferson, he came through in fantasy, but had less than 50 yards. Like Josh Allen might be forced to just dump it off to James Cook a lot in this game.
That might just be the game plan going in, is like we're not going to go after these Jets corners who are really good. Jets have been locking down receivers all year. And look, they're not going to shut out Stephon Diggs, but they could probably shut out everybody else. And so it might be a design where the running backs do get a lot of work, kind of like last week. So yeah, in PPR, whatever Jamal Williams could get with that 6 points and a touchdown, Cook could probably get that just from receptions alone. So
Yeah,
I agree. I would go Cook. All right, and then we have Justin Rubenfield, new to the channel. Welcome, glad to have you. Looking to make a deep playoff run. Of course, that's what it's all about. So let's put one of his questions up here. It's a good question. What do you think about George Pickens?
I don't think I could start him this week. Like, I had high hopes for Pickens, but man, I mean, does he have like a 14% target share this year? He only played like 68% of the snaps, 2 targets. I can't trust him. It's a good matchup, but man, I can't trust him. Let me see him like get back to being involved again.
Well, I'm really curious to see what happens this week. Of course, the matchup was great, but George Pickens after the game was during the game, I think he said, right? He was making some comments and he was saying, throw me the ball. And, is this a squeaky wheel situation? Maybe they go back to him because they've been going away from him, and not because he's done anything or not getting open. But somebody brought it to the attention of the Steelers offensive coordinator that they weren't throwing Deontay Johnson the ball. So now they're throwing only to Deontay Johnson. It's like, yeah. Anyways, not to get on that, Steelers fans would know better than I would, but I think we could see him more involved, but I'm not starting him this week. We got to see it first. They're playing smartly, more conservative with the passing game. Kenny Pickett's not throwing interceptions. They're letting their defense, which now has players back healthy, help them. So it's too risky.
Yeah.
Turkey Patty, welcome back. Need a flex. Pacheco, Evans, Lazard, or pick up Gallup or Cook.
I mean, I would still like to pick up Gallup and Cook.
I mean, I feel like you could drop Lazard.
Yeah, I think you could drop Lazard at this point. I'm just debating. Okay. Can I play Gallup over Evans?
I mean, like you just said about Godwin, Evans was basically invisible until the very end of the game, and even then, he still didn't do much.
I know, it's crazy, and like, it's Brady. Honestly, it's Brady. Like, dude, he had him like wide open for that touchdown, and he threw it to the other side of the field to dusty Julio Jones, and it's like you had Evans wide open running for a touchdown, and you throw it to Julio Jones. Like, why? Like, this is not the same Tom Brady. There's no way. Like, not even close. I might go Gallup over Evans this week.
I mean, we did just talk about wide receivers. You guys, you'll see the wide receiver video for start sit this week, and it come out, I think, tomorrow morning. Is that right? So,
yeah,
I do like Gallup this week. Would I start him over Evans? Man, I don't know. I hate to feel like I'm just focusing, tunnel vision on what happened this last week. Evans didn't do anything, and Gallup scored twice. But this whole thing with Mike Evans has been more than 1 week, right? It's been a couple weeks. He hasn't done anything. And Gallup has been slowly getting better. Like, I know the yardage wasn't there this last week. The touchdowns were there. But the target share has been going up. Man. I think if it was me, I would probably still keep Evans in there just one more time. If Evans still is just a non-factor, then I would just outright bench him. But
I mean, if it was my team, I would play Evans too. And now that I look at it, it's not like Gallup lit the world on fire. He only had 4 catches. He only had 4 catches for 23 yards. He just 2 of them were touchdowns. So It's not like he went for 100 yards. And like the week before, he had 5 for 63. So. And one thing about San Francisco is they're much better against the run than the pass. So now that I think about it more, I probably do still go Evans, but yeah, it's closer than it should be. That's for sure.
It is closer than it should be. But I do think you could drop Lazard to pick up Gallup. Or if you'd rather have a running back, don't know how deep you are running back, you could also pick up Cook, obviously. So there you go. And then Andrew O'Connell, appreciate the super chat. So Pickens again. Do you drop Pickens for Cook?
Isn't there anybody else you can drop? I mean,
Well, okay, so he said all his running backs have red flags. Mixon, Etienne, Pierce. We were talking about Pierce hitting the wall, and Rashad White, who's now splitting time again. So, what do you think? Might be worth it.
I mean, it probably is, but I would just hate. Like, think about Garrett Wilson. He was started off the season great, then he was horrible, and so many teams dropped him. So many people dropped Garrett Wilson. And now you would do anything to go get Garrett Wilson back. Like, James Cook, I don't think has that kind of upside. Not unless, like, Singletary gets hurt. And even then, like if Pickens does start turning it on here and you dropped him for James Cook, I could see you kicking yourself. So, like, is there somebody else you can drop? I might drop Dameon Pierce, honestly. Like, what are we really hoping for from Dameon Pierce? He just had, like, the best matchup, and he ran for what, like 70 yards or something, 80 yards, and like what are you gonna get from Dameon Pierce?
I mean, he's been struggling, and like you said, it was a smash spot, basically. The game script didn't work against him. I mean, Cleveland only scored on defense, and they were, neck and neck basically toward the end of the game. So, and we're seeing now they're actually using other running backs like Ogunbowale, got a couple of touches, including near the goal line. That's concerning. So, you know what? If this is it says full PPR league, yeah, you know what? I think I agree. Maybe you drop Pierce and pick up Cook.
Even if you look at Pierce since the bye, he hasn't scored more than 15 PPR points in any game. Any game. Like, like he's fine, but I don't think Dameon Pierce is like gonna win people fantasy championships this year. So I don't know.
It's true. It's true. Most rookie running backs don't really get involved to like mid-season, and then toward the end, they really start coming on. That's the problem. Dameon Pierce was a starter from day one, and you loved him, and now you're kind of wishing he didn't start playing until week 8 or something, because it looks like he's kind of worn down, which I don't blame him, but it's just he's not used to playing a full 17-game schedule. All right, we're about an hour in, so just some reminders, guys. We're getting to as many of your questions and comments as possible. If you have been waiting, bear with us. Trying to answer as many as we can, but the super chat feature, of course, is there, so that way we get your comment and we'll see it first. We'll try to catch up on the super chats first and foremost, and throw out some of the most interesting questions as well on the regular chat. If you want to join us on Sunday mornings, we do our start to sit show. We're trying to answer our mainly waiver wire and trade questions tonight. We will do some start sit questions, of course, but join us Saturday night for the start sit show. If you want to join us on Sunday morning, very small group, become a patron, patreon.com/fantasyfootballendgame. You see it down there, and you get all sorts of other stuff too. So let's move on. Before we get to another football question, this is a good one. Kyle Pelkey, favorite Christmas movie?
Well, if you're going to count Die Hard as a Christmas movie, it's got to be Die Hard. Otherwise,
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, not really like. I don't know. Maybe It's a Wonderful Life. Maybe Elf. I don't know. Not a big Christmas movie guy.
All right. I mean, I think Die Hard definitely counts. So that's obviously number one. I'm in the opinion that Christmas Story, which I know a lot of people are like, so overrated now. Yeah, and it's kind of become overblown because it's become so, like, it was a cult classic, and now it's just like commercialized, and they show a 24-hour marathon. But I remember watching it when it first came out. That's obviously one of the best movies ever. So yeah. Christmas Story, not just one of the best Christmas movies, it's just hilarious. Okay. Let's get to, gotta do some super chats next. Let's do TJ. Etienne or Hollywood?
I'll go Hollywood this week. God, Played almost every snap in his first game back. Had 8 targets. Etienne against I don't know why I can't think of who they're playing, but it's a brutal matchup.
Who? Etienne? I think
it's
they
a brutal
get
matchup.
Tennessee. Whoops.
What's that?
They get Tennessee, don't they?
Tennessee. That's right. Etienne against Tennessee. Like, yeah, that's terrifying. I like Hollywood this week. I'm gonna go Hollywood.
And not a great matchup for Hollywood, but again, you're going full PPR league. You're going to give a benefit to the receiver and the guy. Look, Etienne, if he was a more prolific pass catcher, maybe. But I'll go Hollywood. Not loving Etienne in general these days. And this week, nah, I'm pretty down on him. I like the jeans. Or no, just like the jeans. Leave it ambiguous. Somebody likes the jeans. Opponent is playing Dulcich, Murray, and Gus. Okay. I'm not sure why, but they are. Lucky for you. I have KC and Pitt defense. Raiders on waiver. Okay, you can leave the Raiders on waivers. Never start the Raiders defense. I don't care who they're playing. So who do you start between KC and Pittsburgh defense?
I mean, you got to go KC, right? It's Denver. Like,
it's going to be whoever plays against Denver.
Yeah, you got to go KC against Denver. Like,
definitely KC. And then who do I start? And then I have Fields on bye and Watson. Should I drop for Huntley? Well, drop Pittsburgh's defense then. I mean, KC is one of those defenses. It's not like amazing, but based on their schedule, remember, a lot of people have been asking about KC because they have one of the best schedules for a defense the rest of the season. Pittsburgh isn't some lights out DST, so drop Pittsburgh, roll with KC the rest of the season. Done.
Yeah, I would probably play Huntley over Watson this week. Like, I'm not ready to put Watson in my, like, you know, we talked about it. Like, the guy hasn't played an NFL game in almost 2 years, is in a new system, a whole new offense. But even I didn't expect him to look that bad. I mean, that was bad. So let me see Watson look halfway decent first before I put him in my lineup right now.
I mean, I actually think that this week will be another mediocre at best performance from Watson. I think he'll get better. And also, this schedule gets a lot better the next 3 weeks, which, of course, is the fantasy playoffs. And then you're throwing him in for the fantasy playoffs. Well, hopefully not, because that's risky. But if you have Fields, you don't need to worry about it. Yeah. I don't love Huntley this week, but I guess I would go with him over Watson because at least you got that rushing floor. Okay, so Barter Mania, welcome back. Made playoffs in all 3 of your leagues, thanks to us. All right, well, we'll take a little credit, but not all of it.
Nice. Well done.
All right, and not the first time he's done this, he or she, passing it on, paying it forward. So let's answer some questions. Good karma going. Remember a few weeks ago, paid it forward and paid for a super chat for somebody else's questions. So let's pick a regular comments. If you see one you like, we can throw it up there.
All right.
Try to pick somebody we haven't put up yet, or maybe some players we haven't put up yet. This one doesn't count. Start Goff or Dak.
I still got to go Dak. I mean, I like Goff this week, but I'm not benching Dak for
him. Are we down on Jerry Jeudy without Cortland Sutton? Yes.
Yeah, I mean, with like, yeah, it's not like Jerry Jeudy. Well, first of all, he only played like 38% of the snaps last week, so I don't think he's 100% healthy or even close.
Yeah.
But also, he's stuck with Russell Wilson and the Broncos. Like, we've seen it. There's no upside in this offense. So, yeah.
I mean, look, we don't chase or try to predict touchdowns. That's kind of the hardest and just not smartest thing to do. But you have to have a player who's in his system that scores kind of regularly, like has some touchdown upside. When we say touchdown upside, that means a team that actually gets to the red zone regularly, a team that actually scores points on touchdowns. So this year, Jerry Jeudy has 3 touchdowns. Okay. That's not great, but here's the thing. That accounts for more than a third of Russell Wilson's touchdowns on the season. Russell Wilson has thrown 8 touchdowns all year.
Terrible.
All year. Okay. So, no, I'm not interested in Jerry Jeudy. Considering starting Hunter Henry against the Cardinals.
I don't hate it. The Cardinals are awful against tight ends, and we know one thing about Hunter Henry is he can have those random 2 touchdown type of games, and if it's gonna happen, this is the week it would happen. So I mean, if you're streaming tight end this week and your waivers are bare, I think Hunter Henry's a good enough option, I guess.
I mean, he's not the worst option. I would start him over Greg Dulcich. I start him over a couple of other guys who were kind of those fringe. Like, would I start him over George Kittle? No. Again, that's taking it a little to the extreme. So I guess that's where I'm at. He's startable, but again, it depends who your other options are. Okay. Now let's do one more regular chat for Bartomania. Norzy needs a wide receiver. Who do you like better, Chark or Nico Collins?
If we're talking this week, I think it's got to be Chark. Had a pretty nice game. I mean, I know Nico Collins had a nice game, but And I like the Lions offense this week against Minnesota at home. So I think I'm going to go with Chark.
And it's funny because just when everyone was picking up and some people really wanted to start Jameson Williams and we told you no, then all of a sudden the guy you forgot was there. DJ Chark has one of his better games as a Lion. It was against his old team, the Jags, and they did roll over the Jags. But look, they'll have to pass a lot probably. They're good at home. Give me Chark because Kyle Allen's still the quarterback in Houston. Although I will say, read today, Brandon Cook's injury, now it looks like it could be multi-week. Funny how that happens. Sometimes, that's just the timing. It's so weird. Right after getting an argument with your coach, then that calf just tightens up and you can't play anymore.
Exactly.
No conspiracy theories here. Cerulean Dog. RBs are CMC, Jamal Williams, Kamara, Pierce, White. Okay, well, this sounds similar to what we said before.
Yeah, but I mean, I know Kamara's been terrible, but you can't drop him because you get such a good playoff schedule.
No. You can't drop Kamara. But we said earlier, drop Pierce. You said drop Pierce for, wasn't it for Cook?
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things like I don't know why you don't have this is my question to people, you don't have anybody else to drop this is it. This is because you know what I mean? You don't have somebody just sitting on your bench that you're never, ever, ever going to play. Jacoby Myers, who people for some reason refuse to drop, even though you're never going to start Jacoby Myers, hopefully, in your fantasy playoffs, or Cortland Sutton, or somebody like that who you're never going to start. He's just going to sit on your bench throughout the whole playoffs.
I mean, at this point, you don't need a backup defense.
Yeah.
Probably don't need a backup quarterback unless the one you have is, kind of risky. Don't know your tight end situation. Okay. But let's just pretend the rest of his team is just solid and stacked. Just picking from these. You just still drop Pierce for Cook, or do you drop Pierce for Madison?
I mean, if these are my only options, then I probably just don't drop anybody for anybody.
Fair enough.
Because what I always think when I'm dropping players is I don't just think is player A worth more than player B? I also think if I drop player A and somebody else picks up player A, does their team now get better because I gave them a free player, basically, right? So if I drop Dameon Pierce or I drop Jamal Williams or whatever, and then somebody who needs a running back now gets Jamal Williams or Dameon Pierce, did I just make somebody's team better that I didn't have to, for free, basically? So that's why I always say, like, isn't there somebody like just sitting on like Jacoby Myers? Nobody's team is going to get better if they pick up Jacoby Myers. Cortland Sutton. Nobody's team is getting better if they pick these guys up. Like, let people have them. Let people have them.
Right. You want them to have them, like put like an albatross around the neck.
Take them. Hey guys, I'm dropping Jacoby Myers. Just letting you guys know.
The thing is, all these guys we talk about high-end handcuffs, like they're all on your waivers. So even if somebody gets hurt, like you almost have your choice. So no, I don't think you have to rush out to add these guys. Again, Cook would be the guy to pick up now. I think Pierce is droppable. That would be the only move, but you don't have to do it. And then Luis Ortiz, welcome back, Luis. Here's a tough one: Swift or Stevenson?
This is pretty tough, but I mean,
we don't know right now. Damian Harris, is he going to play? Is he not going to play? Questionable. Might come back. I mean, we usually say go for upside. I think you go Swift for the upside.
Swift definitely has the upside, right? Stevenson is like the safer, know what you're going to get with him kind of guy, but Swift definitely has the upside. So, I mean, if it's my team, I'm going Swift, but I get it if you want to go Stevenson.
Yeah, I think based on what we saw last week, you have to be encouraged. I'd go Swift. And just to make it even tougher, Garrett Wilson over D-Hop, and not just this week, but rest of season.
I mean, am I ready to go that far yet? After 2 Mike White games?
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm saying how Mike White is going to look 2 weeks from now. Good luck. I don't know.
I feel better. I think I feel better about D-Hop. I mean, the fact that we're like thinking is a good sign for Garrett Wilson, because like a few weeks ago it should have been like ha ha ha. It's obviously DeAndre Hopkins. What are you talking about?
Well, here's what makes it even tougher. You look at DeAndre Hopkins' schedule before week 17. It is against wide receivers. It is brutal. New England, at Denver, who we know is number one at limiting fantasy points to wide receivers, and then Tampa Bay. And then week 17 against Atlanta, so smash spot. But that's not a good set of matchups for him.
Yeah.
And then Garrett Wilson this week at Buffalo, that's not good, but then gets Detroit, Jacksonville, and Seattle.
No, they have a great playoff schedule, the Jets. They have a great playoff schedule, so yeah, it's close. It's just, I don't know. If Mike White and Garrett Wilson come through again against Buffalo this week, aren't they in Buffalo too? Aren't they in Buffalo?
In Buffalo.
If they come through again this week in Buffalo, then I'll be ready to say Garrett Wilson over D-Hop rest of the season. But I don't think I'm ready to just yet.
Yeah, I think this week I'll still have D-Hop a little bit higher. The next week, looking at schedule, I probably go Garrett Wilson, and then Garrett Wilson, and then in week 17 it would be DeAndre Hopkins. El Guapo has entered the chat. Joe
What's
Castle,
up, Joe?
welcome back. Joe. Would it be crazy to start, I guess, Jameson Williams? So just for fun, win or lose doesn't matter.
I mean, like, yeah, have fun. If you already clinched the seed, like, whatever.
Well, I will say this. I like to run up the score as much as possible, even if it doesn't matter. I still like to just kind of assert my dominance in a fantasy league. So I want to score as many points. So if I know Jameson Williams is going to catch like one pass, I'm not going to start him. Like maybe if it was like the guy, that I, for my college team that I love and I finally have him on my fantasy team for fun and I play him just for that reason. Or like last year when I was eliminated from the playoffs and I had named my team after Kadri Ollison. So I put Kadri Ollison in my lineup the last week of the season. Like, okay, fine. But I like to score more points just because you're a team on top. I would say I'd go for a guy. I think it would be even more fun to pick up some random guy off the waiver wire that you think could score or do something and have him put up points, and then just kind of strike some fear into your opponent's hearts. I think that you're
That
like
might be Jameson Williams.
All right. Austin Sargent, another one. Would you start George Pickens or Jerry Jeudy?
Oh boy. I'm gonna go Pickens. I'm gonna buy into the squeaky wheel. Maybe they'll throw it to him more. It's a great matchup against Baltimore as far as the passing game goes. He at least, has potential and has upside. Like, yeah, I don't really like either of these guys this week, but if I had to choose, I'll go Pickens.
I'm going Pickens. I do think he will get a little bit more involved. I don't expect great games from either of these guys. I'll go with the team that might actually find the end zone somehow. That would be the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then also Hunter Henry against Cardinals or Dulcich against Chiefs. Kind of talked about those guys already. Look, I see what you're doing. You're trying to find a path to making me pick a Bronco. It's not going to happen. I'm going Hunter Henry.
I'm going Hunter Henry too. Arizona, one of the worst against tight ends. We know he has touchdown upside. I'm going Hunter Henry as well.
Well, here's an interesting one, though. Also considering Okonkwo from the Titans. Now, you remember, with Treylon Burks out, he all of a sudden led the team in receiving on the game for Week 13. Treylon Burks, we don't know yet. Good chance he misses if he's in concussion protocol. It's not for sure, but do you think that that's worth it or too risky?
Feels a little too risky. I mean, Hunter Henry's pretty risky too, but at least Hunter Henry we know has that touchdown potential. I'll still go Henry against the Cardinals.
Yeah. I mean, I like Okonkwo. Obviously, I mentioned him on the waiver wire video. But again, that's getting deeper. And I mean, Hunter Henry is kind of deep, but the reason we're talking about Hunter Henry this week or at all is because it's the Cardinals, who again, by far the worst against tight ends. I mean, Hunter Henry did kind of flash a couple weeks ago, so this would be a great spot for him to do it again. I'll go Hunter Henry. Okonkwo is not a bad choice, though. And then Dudone, welcome back. PPR, McKinnon or Chark over Pierce?
I would play – I don't think I would play McKinnon over Pierce. I know he had a nice game, but I mean, not banking on that again. But I would play Chark over Pierce because, again, Pierce, he's just a floor play. He's just that's it. And look, last week was a great matchup. This week is, who is it this week? This week it is Dallas. Not a good matchup at all. A terrible matchup. This might not even be a floor week for Dameon Pierce. This is probably going to be a bust week for Dameon Pierce, honestly. So I would play Chark over him at home against Minnesota. I'm going Chark.
And it's full PPR. That means you just need Chark to get a couple of grabs. He'll give you something, and whatever that something will probably equal Dameon Pierce. It's such a bad matchup for Pierce, and he hadn't been good anyway. So, yeah, I would go Chark. McKinnon you can't love because, again, probably not going to be a score fest in Denver. Probably won't need to dump it off very much. All right. Luis Ortiz, another one. Swift or Stevenson? I think we literally just answered this.
Wait, but he did say it's non-PPR.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, because I was saying we just did this, deja vu. But, okay, so does non-PPR change your opinion between Swift or Stevenson? I don't think so, because Stevenson, a lot of his value is tied to the fact that he's catching passes.
It's all tied to him catching passes. Who thought Ramondre Stevenson would be Austin Eckler light this year? Dude catches, all his damage is in the receiving game, honestly. So probably not. And it might make me lean slightly to D-Hop as well, because I feel better about DeAndre Hopkins catching touchdowns than Garrett Wilson.
Yep.
So it might make me lean slightly to D-Hop, but it's still really close between those two.
Yeah, both these decisions are really close, but I still go Swift. Swift scoring touchdowns, that's obviously a big factor in non-PPR. So Swift for sure for me, and then, it just kind of confirms what I said. But again, I mean, you're saying rest of the season. I think you probably can just mix and match based on weeks and matchups for Wilson, exactly. D-Hop. But this week I would go D-Hop. This is a good one. No patience for mediocrity. All right. Sounds like a Washington Commanders fan. Devontae Smith or Amari Cooper in full PPR.
This week I'm going Smith. I mean, I'm not like all out on Amari Cooper, but it's Cincinnati. We just saw what they did to the Chiefs. This is a great defense. Now Deshaun Watson on the road in Cincinnati. Like, I'm not feeling any better about Deshaun Watson this week. Devonta Smith has been involved, right? He's even last week when AJ Brown went off, Devonta Smith went off too, and he's been great. Give me Devonta Smith.
I'll go Devontae Smith. I mean, he's been coming on. He's been really solid as of late. Both guys similar in the sense capable of games, both capable of but look, on Devontae Smith because we need probably at least one more week before we fully buy into Cooper. So go Devontae Smith also. All right, welcome back. One of our most loyal viewers. That is Bear Camp Cabin Rentals. 2 quarterback league. Will you go is Deshaun Watson?
Oh man.
Or Jamal Williams? Well, it's 2 quarterbacks.
I'm assuming you mean super flex. I assume you mean super flex because if it was 2 QB, you'd have to play one.
I think. Well, yeah, that's the thing. 2 QB. It would have to be if this is your decision. It would have.
I think I still
you
go
have to
Deshaun.
go with the quarterback here, don't you?
Yeah, I think I'm still going Watson here. I don't love Watson this week, but again, 2 weeks in a row, Jamal Williams has scored. He hasn't even gotten you 11 PPR points in either of those games. Like, all right, maybe Deshaun Watson lays a total egg again, but I think Deshaun Watson can at least get 10 fantasy points. So I probably still go Deshaun.
Yeah, and you're saying even with a touchdown, like Jamal Williams to get you 10 points. Deshaun Watson doesn't. A quarterback, just any quarterback in general, doesn't have to do too much to get you to the 10-point mark. And I think he'll be a little better than Luke. Remember, it wasn't just his first game back, which it's probably all fact, right? It wasn't the best environment for him. Just getting all that out of the way, I think he'll be better. So, and look, they're going to have to pass the ball more, whether they want to or not. It's Cincinnati, right? They really didn't have to pass the ball a lot against Houston to try to win.
Yeah.
John Stockman. In the playoffs, CMC, Patterson, Pacheco, Williams, and Knight. Would you drop Patterson for Mason? Jordan Mason.
I'm definitely okay with dropping Patterson. Like, come on. You're starting Patterson in your fantasy playoffs. Like, good luck and Godspeed, right? Like, I guess for Mason is okay. You have CMC. He's the handcuff there, more than likely. So, yeah, I think it's okay.
Yeah, you're not going to start Patterson. You would put in Pacheco or Williams, maybe Knight instead of him. Since CMC, then yeah, you can do that. Lester Duckett wants to know, release Waller or keep him?
I think you can drop Waller. I mean, this is Devontae Adams' team. Like, even when Waller comes back, well, what are we really going to get from him if he even comes back? Like, yeah.
Was done with Waller a long time ago. And by that, I mean before the season started. So, no.
Yes.
The Eggman, very good point, guys. If you like this, hit the like button. Makes sense. If you're not a subscriber yet, hit subscribe. Okay. Alexander's channel. Jared Cook or Goff for waivers if you got Carr at quarterback? I mean, you like Goff this week, but would you pick him up instead of Cook? How do you deal with this?
I mean, again, only if you were in a must-win spot this week. But if you're not, I mean, I get it. But like, look, Goff isn't a guy that I'm like, oh, Goff is going to be awesome from now till the end of the season. Pick him up. It's like, no, I like Goff this week because they're at home against Minnesota. So I'd rather have Jared. I mean, in a vacuum, I'd rather have James Cook, who can actually help your team. Like, oh, I need a running back this week, or I need a flex this week, or something. Whereas, yeah, you might mix and match Goff and Carr, but
Same guy.
Yeah, same guy.
I mean, for fantasy, it's the same guy, isn't it?
Yeah, same guy. It's like you're just playing matchups basically, and yeah.
I mean, I guess I like Goff a little better than Carr this week. So what? You know what? If Goff is just out there, like if you drop Carr, is someone going to rush out to pick him up? If they do, does it matter?
No.
I mean, I would just drop Carr, pick up Goff. And then if you can pick up Cook also for whoever, I don't know who, then do that. Okay, there we go. Stanley, the question's back here. Hurting a running back, have Etienne, Cook, Walker, and Pierce. So literally hurting because of Walker, sort of Etienne. Any good streaming options at running back? Okay. I mean, Cook is the guy we keep talking about. Anybody else coming to mind?
I mean, I don't love Cam Akers, but he gets a great matchup this week. He's getting all the touches. He's basically like Jamal Williams, like needs a touchdown, but he could get it. So if you're just looking for a streaming option, who else? Who else is still out there kind of on the... I mean, Zonovan Knight is actually still on a lot of waiver wires. I was really surprised by that. He's still out there on like 60% of Yahoo leagues or something. It's crazy.
Zonovan Knight. I think this seems like the perfect opportunity to mention Cam Akers. I mean, look, I know, but besides the 2 touchdowns, he gets the Raiders. He's getting all the touches. It's the Raiders. And, of course, Baker the Savior is now there to rescue that offense.
Yeah. They're going to go from a top 32 offense to a top 32 offense.
Yeah, maybe. All right. Let's move. Oh, wait. Any news on Goddard? Not really.
I mean, it sounds like he will definitely be back week 15. In fact, wasn't there something where Dallas Goedert was like, dude, you shouldn't have put me on IR. I would have been playing already. Like, why'd you put me on IR? So it sounds, I thought I saw that. So it sounds like he'll definitely be back week 15, which is the first week he's eligible to return.
Yeah. So if you've
drop
been holding Goddard, hopefully that's the situation here. Not going to play this week, most likely, but week 15, good. Yeah. Should be. All right. Josh Daniel was up. All right. Appreciate you. Took a tough L by 2 points. Yeah, that happened to me in one league also, which ironically, just to share, because nobody cares, I lost to the same team twice by a combined total of 3 points. Well, first time I was the second highest scorer that week, and I lost by a point to the highest scorer. And then this week, just to get knocked out of the playoff spot, I lost to that same team by less than 2 points. Fantasy football is pain. Sometimes
it's pain. Yes.
All right. So I need your opinion. Olave is on a bye. Would you drop Jameson Williams for Chark or Gallup? Yes.
Yeah.
Who do you like better?
I think I would drop. Like, if you don't need to win this week, I would drop him for Gallup. So I prefer Gallup more rest of the season. But if you're like, I have to win this week, like win or go home, then I'll take Chark, because I do like Chark this week. I mean, so, but I prefer to drop him for Gallup, because Gallup can help you more rest of the season, in my opinion.
I like Gallup. I don't honestly remember. I don't think I mentioned him on the video, but I also do for our patrons a write-up waiver wire breakdown. So I talk about multiple players at each position, and I did a write-up on Gallup about why I think he's worth adding. So the yardage wasn't amazing last week, and the touchdowns. He's starting to just come on. And look, this Dallas offense is just on fire. This has been one of the best scoring offenses in the last few weeks. I like Gallup. I don't love him this week specifically because it's just not going to have to pass the ball that much. But yeah, he's a solid pickup for sure. Hopefully, no more touchdowns. Bry, Etienne, or Latavius?
I can't start Latavius Murray over Travis Etienne, even in a tough matchup. Like, can't do it. I'm starting Travis Etienne.
I'm starting Travis Etienne, and not just because of the team that Latavius Murray's on, but yeah, you go Etienne in this one. Pick up Hubbard. Yeah, we haven't heard anything about Chuba lately, but that's probably for a reason. I mean, I know they were on bye last week.
Yeah, but even before that, like the week before, it's been all Dante Foreman, and like there's been very little Chuba Hubbard. So I don't think Chuba Hubbard's somebody you have to pick up.
No. It's all Foreman, and I think it will be all Foreman pretty much. Leon. All right, what's up, Leon? With the super chat now. Here we go. Do the Eagles rest Hurts if they lock up the number 1 seed week 16? Do you see that happening week 16? Because look, if you think about it, how long would he have off if they have a bye? I mean, I don't think so.
Yeah, people always worry about this, but teams never do this because now you're talking no game week 16. I'm talking for Jalen Hurts. No game week 16. No game week 17. The bye, right, in the first round. You're talking about almost a month. You're gonna have this guy not play football for a month, and then teams won't do this. Teams won't do this. He'll play. This is why we don't do why we do fantasy championships in week 17 and not week 18. Like, yeah, they'll probably maybe he'll only play like a quarter or a half in week 18, but he'll play the whole game in week 16 or week 17. I mean, even if they've locked up the number 1 seed.
That's what I was gonna. This is why you don't have your championship in the final week of the season because it's crazy. But if you're saying after week 16. But look, I don't think so. I think a lot of teams have seen what happens when they rest their guys, and then so they're basically off, and then they're off again because of the bye, and then they're rusty. And that team that's a wild card team that has been playing and fighting to get in, and then they win a wild card game, and then you're facing a team that's hot versus a team that's cold. So I don't think so. So, I'm not worried about. I'm not changing anything because I'm not trading Jalen Hurts because he might miss week 17. No. All right. We'll keep going to the super chats, but let's do this one. This seems pretty urgent. Joey Harrington or Jay Cutler?
I mean, you got to go
talking dynasty
Cutler. You got to go Jay Cutler.
I think you got to go Jay Cutler too. I mean, reality show, talent aside, yeah. I did have my share of Jay Cutler back in the day. I have to admit.
Oh yeah, he was a slinger. That's the thing. He was a gunslinger, right? So he was good for fantasy.
And then welcome back, Pierre. I like that name. Just Rondale Moore? Question mark.
I don't know.
Yes or no, and we'll move on.
No.
I will say Rondale Moore is a stash. Don't mind him. I wouldn't play him this week even if he does play, but I am possibly going to talk about him in the early waiver wire video. John V. Speaking of stashes, a defense for week 17. The Jags, the Chargers. Well, you can't stream him against the Rams now. Or the Giants. Who can he? Hey, hold on. My dog's eating something.
Yeah, that's fine. This is closer maybe between the Chargers and the Giants. If Joey Bosa was back, I'd probably go the Chargers, but who knows what's going on with Joey Bosa. The Giants against Indy, I mean, we're either looking at Matt Ryan, who takes a ton of sacks and turns the ball over, or Sam Ehlinger, who shouldn't even be playing quarterback. So I'd probably slightly lean the Giants, but it's really close between them and the Rams for me because, whether it's Baker Mayfield, John Wolford, Bryce Perkins, it doesn't matter. So I don't know if you heard me, but I said slightly lean Giants, but close to the Chargers.
Chargers defense has been really just underwhelming.
Yeah.
And I mean, in all seriousness, the Rams, they at least kind of showed up last week. They didn't just roll over. A lot of people, including myself, thought they're really just going to just lay down. I mean, you've got to like the chance for some turnovers. The Chargers just haven't been forcing enough turnovers. That's the thing. So you'd think it should be the Jags, and I might go Jags just because of the opponent. I really feel like Houston has the best chance to give up sacks and turnovers. So I think that's where I go because Indy has been at least respectable on offense. I mean, none of these, I know, well, not last week, but I don't know.
That's
to
the
me,
thing.
I
That's what I was saying. Like Matt Ryan will take sacks and throw interceptions.
Yeah. I think Giants are kind of the safest pick there. I think Jags have the most upside, because we see Kyle Allen just kind of throwing the ball wherever.
Well, that's true. I mean, I guess you want your defense to have upside. There's no point in having your defense just get you 8 points because that's not going to really change the outcome, right? Like you want a defense that can go 20 plus potentially and win you your week if possible. That's probably the Jags, even though they're a bad defense.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. None of these are really great options. I think Giants are the best real-life defense, but I think Houston's definitely the worst real-life offense there right now. So, and then Jesus, just something to say, great job. Started Swift last week. I think that was a good call.
That's a good call. Just keep me in your lineup now.
Yeah, do it again. All right, GK, got Mixon coming back. Do you drop Pirine for Cook?
No, especially if you have Mixon, because we've seen like Pirine can be just as good as Mixon. So, Cook will never get to that level. He just won't. He's not going to be a workhorse playing 80% of the snaps, getting all the touches. Like, no, keep Pirine.
Yeah, especially if you are a Mixon owner, you want Pirine there for sure. I mean, and then this leads to James' biggest question. Has Pirine done enough to be a starter, even if Mixon returns in fantasy?
No. Because if they liked Pirine this much, he would have been getting more work all season. It's not like they just, traded for Pirine or something. Like they've had Pirine for years. They know who Pirine is. They know what he can do. If they liked them, they'd be playing him more. Like, no, if Mixon is back, it's Mixon.
Yeah. I do, I've said I think Pirine will maybe get a few more touches than he had been just because he's been so good and Mixon has been going to be rusty, right? Not having practice for a couple weeks. But again, we're talking about basically like 2 carries a game to maybe now he'll get like 6 or 7. That's not enough to have standalone value. So no, you can't put Pirine in your starting lineup this week, but you want him on your bench.
Yeah.
Alejandro Olivas needs 1 running back and 1 flex. Foreman, Najee, Pierce, Bam, Sutton, or Pickens. So running back.
It's close for me between Foreman and Najee, actually, only because Najee in such a bad spot this week against Baltimore. They've been really good against the run, really bad against the pass. And Foreman has a really good matchup if the Panthers can keep it competitive. Because that's what we've seen with Foreman, right? Like, if they're getting blown out, then he's kind of like game scripted out. But it's Seattle. I mean, Seattle just made Cam Akers one of the top waiver wire pickups. So.
True. That is true.
Can I bench Najee for Foreman? I probably still go Najee, but man, it's close. It's close for me there.
Yeah, I feel like I definitely want to say Najee, but I'm curious then to look at flex. Okay, so at running back, we start Najee. Then at the flex, do you go Foreman over Pickens?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, yeah, I can sit Sutton and Pickens this week. I mean, Knight is interesting if Carter is out again. Because that is one thing about Foreman. He won't catch any passes, right? He's like a guy who'll get you like 15 to 20 carries.
Yeah, on the road against Seattle is never a great spot, and that's the thing. It's Carolina. I mean, you could worry about game script, right? I see that. It's just how good do you feel? Like we're not. I assume I say we. I assume we're not putting Pierce or Sutton over those.
I mean,
those guys.
Pierce, isn't he on the road in Dallas? I mean, like we've seen it in games. This could be a massacre. He gets completely game scripted out, right? He gets 5 carries because Dallas is just crushing him, and he's done, and he doesn't do anything like we saw like the couple weeks prior. So I can't play Pierce against Dallas. No way. I can't play Sutton. I wish I could play Pickens, but oh man. I think I go Najee and Knight.
All right, interesting. Now I will say this doesn't say PPR or not. I think if you told me this was standard league, receptions don't matter. I might go Najee and Foreman.
Yes.
If it's a PPR league, then it's Najee, and I might take a shot on Pickens because all these guys are just kind of similar. Nobody here is super inspiring. Nobody here is terrible. I don't know. Although, you know what? I might just talk myself into Foreman. I'll just go Foreman.
I do like Foreman.
He had a week to rest.
This week. The only risk is that Seattle blows him out, but Seattle's not really the type of team that blows teams out necessarily.
They were barely beating the Rams last week. I mean, so. All right, Louis C. Welcome back, Louis. Saved your bacon. All right. That's always a good thing. Who do you flex? Schultz, Chark, Corey Davis, or Bam?
I'm going to assume it's PPR, and I'm going to go Chark. Again, I just like Corey Davis. Okay, fine. It's Buffalo, though. Not don't love him. Schultz, wasn't really that good last week. He did have a 2-touchdown game a couple weeks ago, but he's not getting he's okay, but I'm not flexing him over these guys. Knight, potentially, if Carter is out. But I think I just like Chark. I like the upside of Chark in a great matchup, in a game that should be extremely high scoring. Again, talked about it. Lions at home. Goff is better at home. Chark looked good last week. I think I'm going Chark.
Yeah, I think I'll say Chark too. Definitely. Look, I always say go for the upside. Schultz seems to me like a little bit of a safer play, but without a touchdown, you might just be left with 6 points, not too much. Yeah. I'll go for the upside of Chark because these are all kind of shaky flex options. Blair Davis, always with us. Appreciate you.
Question.
Do you start Gabe Davis or Jeff Wilson? And it's even worse. This is a must win. Look, we are really rooting for you, Blair. We are really rooting for. We want you to win, obviously. Do you go with Gabe or Jeff Wilson?
Oh my gosh. I mean, how can you start Gabe Davis against the Jets? But how can you start? I mean, the answer should be Jeff Wilson because this is the Chargers. But I mean, how can you trust Jeff? 2 weeks ago against Houston, everybody lost their minds for Jeff Wilson. People were like, should I trade Austin Eckler for Jeff Wilson so I can play him against Houston, right? Like people were just losing their mind for Jeff Wilson. He did nothing. And then last week, he literally did nothing. So how can you trust him at this point, even in a great matchup? Oh, jeez. There's no other options.
Apparently not. And what's more annoying, and it's full PPR, so you figure go with the receiver. Look, this has nothing to do with the fact that I may or may not be a Dolphins fan, and I hate Buffalo and the Jets to death. But I'm going Jeff Wilson because, of course, the smash spot against the Chargers. He's got, at the very least, he does have some scoring potential, right? If they get in the red zone, give it to Wilson. They made a conscious decision to not even try to run the ball last week. I think Wilson can get you something. I'm worried that Gabe Davis gets you literally nothing because he's barely giving you anything as it is. And the Jets, as we already said, lockdown receivers. I'm going with Wilson.
Yeah, I'm probably going Wilson too, but I mean, the answer could be neither, honestly, at the end of the week.
I mean, I really feel like they're both basically touchdown dependent, so I feel better about the chances of Wilson scoring a touchdown. And then let's go Sarp Erden, also loyal viewer. Do you pick up DJ Dallas or Travis Homer in case Kenneth Walker is out? I mean, I feel like you do have to make a contingency plan.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to pick one, I'd probably go DJ Dallas, I think. But honestly, I don't really want either. I think we're going to see some sort of committee type of thing. Like, this isn't like, P. Ryan and Mixon, where if Mixon is out, it's going to be all P. Ryan. This is going to be some kind of committee. We don't even know how healthy these guys are because they both got hurt. Like every running back on the Seahawks except for Tony Jones got hurt last week. We don't even know how healthy. You might go pick up DJ Dallas and then he doesn't play. Or you pick up Travis Homer, he doesn't even play. Like I have Kenneth Walker in one league. I'm not picking any of these guys up. If Kenneth Walker doesn't play, I'm just starting somebody else. But if I had to choose, I'd probably go DJ Dallas.
I mean, hopefully there's somebody else, maybe Zonovan Knight or James Cook, and those guys aren't on your waiver wire. Maybe this is all you got. If you had to pick between these two, I go DJ Dallas. He's the one who got the most run after Walker was out. He's a guy who will catch passes. I mean, Homer can catch passes. He's just not as good at it. Homer's the guy who he has great speed in the open field. But if he doesn't get into the open field, he's going to get stuff to the line of scrimmage. That's it. He's as boom bust as you can get for a running back, but he doesn't get enough touches. So I would go with Dallas, but hopefully you have better options. Jesus with another one wants to know Pierce, Slayton, or Palmer at the flex.
Well, I'll say if Mike Williams is out again, I'll go with Palmer. And then if Mike Williams plays, I'll go with Slayton.
Yeah. Mike Williams, still to be determined. I wouldn't play full PPR. Yeah, I don't think I can play Pierce over either of these guys. Slayton looked pretty good last week, and it wasn't really a bad it wasn't really a great matchup for him, I want to say. And so I'd go the guy I know is the number one guy. Palmer could be decent, but I think I'd rather have Slayton. And then we got the coach himself, Marvin Lewis. All right, standard. Start 2 at the flex. Elliott, Swift, Jacobs. Oh, no, start 2, flex 1. Sorry, I think I'm reading that wrong. So I guess we're sitting 1. Elliott, Swift, Jacobs, Pacheco.
Yeah, I'm going to sit Pacheco. I mean, you have to play Jacobs. Not only that, your little avatar, if that's you, has a Raiders hat on. How are you ever going to sit Josh Jacobs with a Raiders hat on? Like, come on, like, you can never sit Josh Jacobs. Like, even if Josh Jacobs is hurt, he's got to still be in your lineup. But
at this point, yeah.
Swift, even a standard scoring, I still like Swift a lot. Pacheco and Zeke kind of feel like the same guys right now, volume-based guys who don't really catch a lot of passes. Both have touchdown upside. But Zeke gets Houston. Pacheco gets Denver. I'm going Zeke.
Yeah. Typically, you might lean Pacheco, but this week, you almost have to start Zeke. He's looked really fresh the last couple of weeks, getting good chunks of yardage. It's Houston. Yeah. And you really shouldn't have to ask. Jacobs is a no doubter. This week, Swift for sure, and then Zeke.
Yeah.
All right. Welcome back, Johnny. Johnny
What's up, Johnny?
is always with us. Need a QB. Pick one. White, Smith, or Huntley. Is that Gino? If it's Gino, I'm going Gino.
Oh, that's right. I was like, who's the Smith? Yeah, I'm going Gino over these guys. Like, I don't mind Mike White, but not this week. Not this week in Buffalo. Wasn't it last year when like Mike White was doing awesome and then they went to Buffalo and he threw 4 interceptions?
It sure was. I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
See what happens this year. But I'm going Gino. I like Gino this week. Gotta like Gino this week against Carolina.
Yeah, Gino is pretty solid. No worries about Gino. Definitely Smith. And then Fonzie do be fresh yet again. Started 2-6, now 7-6. Nice. Taking the Friends playoff spot, even better. All right. Which 3 will give you the most points this week? Waddle, Hopkins, Garrett Wilson, or St. Brown?
Well, I think you got to start Waddle and St. Brown. Unless my only concern with Waddle is if we are hearing like he's not practicing today. Oh, he's not practicing again. Okay, he got a limited thing. He's questionable because we saw last week, right? He wasn't 100%, and it certainly affected him. So, if not, if everything, all systems go for Waddle, I think you got to go Waddle. You definitely got to go St. Brown. I mean, you have to play St. Brown. Hopkins and Wilson are close, but again, we're talking about on the road in Buffalo with Mike White. And one thing about New England, I don't think this New England pass defense is as good as we think it is. Like the last 2 weeks, they have been badly exposed to when they faced like actual good quarterbacks with good receivers. You know what I mean? Like they were playing a lot of really bad offenses, a lot of really bad wide receivers early in the year. Like Diggs and Jefferson had no problem against his defense. I don't think Hopkins is going to have a problem against his defense. So this week I'm going Hopkins.
Yeah, again, Sun God, Waddle have to start. No questions asked. And then we had a discussion earlier between those same 2 players, Hopkins and Garrett Wilson. Someone was asking specifically about those 2. Yeah, you got to lean Hopkins this week. Hopefully you get that win. Hopefully you make up some points. Looks like you got a good squad. So, I mean, Waddle should. I'm not too worried because, again, he was banged up in the first half. He did come back, and then we saw he made a catch, and then he kind of not limped, but he was like a little ginger coming off. But, he wasn't ruled out for the game. You know what I mean? He didn't look like anything that should keep him out. So I don't worry about Waddle. But good luck. Definitely want to get that win. All right, let's do Mark Evans. All right. Well, I wonder, are you a Texans fan, like a disgruntled Texans fan? Or are you like a Cowboys fan and you're just like ragging on the Texans? Okay. Tom Savage, remember him? Kyle Allen or Davis Mills?
This is close between Tom Savage and Kyle Allen for me. I feel like Davis Mills at least has had like some nice moments.
Right.
I feel like he got like Lovie Smith shafted him a little bit this year. Like I know Davis Mills wasn't playing great, but you benched him for Kyle Allen, really? Like really? Maybe this is recency bias, but I'm going to say Kyle Allen. But Tom Savage was pretty bad.
And I'm going Savage because look, Kyle Allen. Yeah, he's been bad. I mean, he shouldn't be the quarterback going forward. It would really surprise me if they don't go back to Davis Mills. I actually thought they would claim Baker Mayfield because why not? I mean, why not? But didn't Tom Savage have DeAndre Hopkins to throw to?
Yeah,
pretty sure he did.
Oh, he might have. I'm trying to think. When Deshaun Watson was a rookie, I think it was Brian Hoyer though, because I remember when they drafted Deshaun Watson. And I remember this because I had DeAndre Hopkins that year. And they said, we're gonna start Brian Hoyer. He's our guy. And it was like halftime of the first game. And I remember going like, oh man, I should have never drafted DeAndre Hopkins. Like, Brian Hoyer's terrible. What was I thinking? And then at halftime of the first game, they benched Brian Hoyer and put Deshaun Watson in. And Hopkins, I don't know if they won the game or not. I don't care. I don't remember. But I remember DeAndre Hopkins went off and they had a great year. So I don't know if Tom Savage, he might have though. He might have.
Well, look, I'm looking it up right now. He had DeAndre Hopkins, who put up 1,378 yards that season when Savage was actually sort of a starter. He also had Will Fuller. He had DeAndre Hopkins and Will Fuller.
Wow.
Both Davis Mills and Kyle Allen, their best receivers to throw to were Brandon Cooks, who like a disgruntled Brandon Cooks, who's been banged up, and Nico Collins. Tom Savage had a lot more to work with, is what I'm saying. And he had Lamar Miller and Deontay Foreman in the backfield. So I think Tom Savage takes the cake here.
Okay.
All right. Let's get to Justin Jimenez picking up Knight. Speaking of Deshaun Watson, perfect segue. Should I drop him to pick up Cook or Murray? I guess Latavius Murray.
I mean, if you're not ever if you have a better quarterback than Deshaun Watson, you can drop Deshaun Watson. Like, I don't care if somebody else wants to pick up Deshaun Watson. Go ahead. Like, if I have really anybody better, which is a lot of guys right now. And between Cook and Murray, I definitely prefer Cook. He's on the Bills, catches a bunch of passes. I definitely prefer Cook.
And then would you drop Patterson to get Murray, or would you rather Patterson?
I don't know. Like, I guess, but I don't really want either. To be honest. So I don't know. Nobody else you could pick up? Like, I don't know. Is Madison still on the waiver wire? Like, I'd rather drop Patterson for Madison. At least if Dalvin Cook goes down, he gives you that upside. Like, with Patterson's, what are we getting from Patterson? What are we getting from Cordarrelle Patterson? Nothing.
So yeah, look, you obviously have some sort of quarterback if you're asking about dropping Deshaun Watson, so you don't need to hold him. Just drop Watson, pick up Cook for sure. I just hold to Patterson because at least he can do something. Like, he still looks good. He's just not getting enough touches. And look, there's a little bit of smoke, I guess, that maybe after the bye week, the Falcons turn to Desmond Ridder. Maybe that helps the offense. Who knows? We'll see.
That'll solve all their problems, no doubt.
Yeah, probably not. It could make it worse. We'll see. But I'm just saying, at least I would just hold Patterson. And then JK, full PPR, start one. Knight, Etienne, or Akers?
I can't bench Etienne for these guys. I mean, I know it's a tough matchup, and I know he had a bad game, but I can't. I can't do it. Maybe he'll be the worst of the three again somehow, but I can't bench him for these guys. Not for these guys.
And not a ridiculous question, because if you look fantasy point-wise, Etienne was third out of these three guys last week. Now, again, Etienne, not a good matchup, and last week was a good matchup. But, I can't bench him either. I mean,
the one good thing about this matchup is, unlike last week, where they were getting blown out, Tennessee will not be able to. They just don't have the offense to be able to blow out the Jags. So he should at least, be involved for the entire game.
This is true. Etienne, I don't know what would have let down last week, but even I know I talked up Knight and Akers on the waiver wire, but again, these are guys to pick up, like, for your bench, not immediate plug and play start. Etienne, not loving him this week, but I would put him over those two guys. Although, sadly, it's closer than it should be.
Yeah.
Matthew Molina, go with Geno or stick with Brady? Interesting question.
No, if Geno's on your waivers, I would drop Brady for Geno, definitely. Much better matchup for Geno this week. And again, what are we getting from Brady? I mean, really, it took the last 3 minutes of the game for him to do anything. Like, he was doing nothing in that game. So, yeah, not loving Brady this week. I'm going Geno.
Look, again, he pulled off this last minute thing, got the win, but his numbers still weren't great. Again, fantasy wise, struggled against New Orleans, right? This New Orleans defense. Tell me if they're in the top half defensively in any category. I don't think so, but I have to go check, but I'm pretty sure they're not. Now you get San Francisco and Bosa, who just wreaked havoc on the Dolphins. I'll go with Geno. And Geno's been better than Brady pretty much all year, hasn't he?
Pretty much. And let's be real, the only reason they won that game, the only good thing Tom Brady did last night was told Bowles to bench Fournette and put Rachaad White in the dang game so we can win this game right now. That was the only thing Brady did right last night. Was said, bench Fournette and put White in so we can throw this game-winning touchdown to him right now. No way.
But the best thing he's done is prop up Rachaad White by throwing him the ball. Yeah. But of course, he's doing that instead of throwing Mike Evans the ball. So.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like, Leonard Fournette and Rachaad White combining for like 15 catches. Like, what is this offense? This is not how an offense should be. An offense, like, it's like the Chargers. Like, you can't be an elite offense when you're dumping the ball off to your running back 15 times a game. You just can't. You just can't. And like, that's what the Bucs are right now. Like, Rachaad White and Leonard Fournette out here catching like 15 passes. It's like, what is this offense? What is this?
I mean, it's almost like they don't have two elite wideouts, during the game. Like,
at least the Chargers have an excuse. Like, Keenan Allen missed almost the entire season. Mike Williams missed a bunch of games. Like, Godwin. I mean, okay, Godwin wasn't healthy to start the season, but he's been good lately. Evans been healthy. Like, what is going on?
I don't know. I mean, yeah, you got to be concerned with Brady. No, go with Geno for sure. All right, just some reminders. We're now past the 2-hour mark. We'll still stick around a while longer. Going to try to answer as many questions as possible. This is mainly for Waiver Wire and those who still have trades going on. Obviously, a couple of you do. And if you do have start-sit questions, of course, we'll answer some of those too. Don't forget Saturday night. That's when we talk start-sit. Got all the latest information for you. If you want to join us on Sunday morning, we have a Zoom call with our patrons. We answer all your questions, extended chat 2 hours before kickoff of the Sunday games. Information for that down below with the link, patreon.com/fantasyfootballendgame. And we are, I think, almost caught up on all the super chats. We'll do as many questions as possible. If you do use a super chat feature, guarantee we'll get to your question right away or your comments. So let's go back to... This was pretty much a question. Worst Texans quarterback ever. As I thought, Mark Evans, a disgruntled Texans fan.
Yeah, it's been rough for the Texans. It's like you traded away an elite wide receiver for a broken running back. You finally had some hope with a quarterback, and then he ended up being a creeper who didn't want to play for you. It's been rough for Texans fans, no doubt.
At least they finally have some draft capital. Should be able to turn around. All right. How do we feel? Ethan DeLuna wants to know. You go with Huntley or Lawrence this week?
I got to go with Lawrence. I know, he disappointed last week. I thought Lawrence would smash. He'd been playing great. It was a great matchup. But, man, I can't trust Huntley. I know he did some things last year or whatever, but yeah, I'm going Lawrence.
I have to go Lawrence. I mentioned this a while back or earlier on the show is that Huntley last year did face Pittsburgh, did not do well against them. This Pittsburgh defense has been better. But again, I'm also mainly worried because a lot of people think, oh, he's almost like Lamar. What has Lamar done lately? In that offense, they have no receivers to throw to. The running backs are not really helping carry the load necessarily. I go for Lawrence. I mean, I'm not excited about either guy.
Yeah.
But obviously you have to pick, so I go with Lawrence. And then this leads to another question from Rocco. Had Lamar. So would you pick up Huntley, Danny Dimes, Tom Brady, or Goff?
I'm going Goff. I like Goff a lot this week. He just came off a really nice game at home against a bad defense. Now he gets another game at home against probably a worse defense, honestly, or at least just as bad. Swift is healthy. Amon-Ra looks good. He's got Chark back. He has weapons, man. He has weapons. So I like Goff this week.
Going Goff too. We just finished talking about Brady, been disappointing, and now a terrible matchup. I can never get excited about Danny Dimes, who I didn't realize earlier. Someone mentioned his nickname is Vanilla Vic. I don't know if that's true.
Okay.
I just learned that. Huntley, we literally just finished talking about. I'll go Goff. And here's a very similar question with probably a very similar answer. Okay, from a very interesting username. Huntley, Goff, or Watson?
Definitely Goff. I mean, I can't start Watson this week on the road against the Bengals. No way. After what we saw last week, no way. Like, he needs to make. It's not like it was like, okay, he looked pretty good for his first game back in a year and a half. It was like, no, he looked awful. He needs to make a big leap before I can trust him. And then Huntley, same thing. Like, yeah, I'm not trusting Huntley. I like Goff a lot this week. Going Goff.
All right, now let's see how high you are in Goff.
Okay.
Oh, there we go. From Anthony Carter.
No, I'm going Kyler Murray.
Kyler Murray.
Oh. I'm going Kyler Murray. I mean, he's got better weapons. Well, I shouldn't say that because I'm going to offend all the Amon-Ra St. Brown stands out there, but he's got just as good as weapons. I'll say that. And then he's also at home, and we know he can do way more with his legs than Goff can. Like, Goff, even in a smash matchup, can completely disappoint. Kyler Murray will at least like run 40, 50 yards and stuff, and could always run in a touchdown. So,
I mean, not like you said, the Patriots defense hasn't been like shutting down other teams lately, but it's still a solid defense. I don't expect a great game for Kyler Murray. I really don't expect a lot from Kyler Murray these days anyways, just because he always seems to let us down. But yeah, the thing is with Goff, there's only so much he'll do touchdown-wise because Jamal Williams will always get the ball near the goal line. So I'll go Kyler Murray. I mean, it's not that far off this week, but I do think you still have to go Murray. All right, and then how about we switch to running backs, but still talk about Detroit. Jamal Williams or Pacheco?
I think I got to go Pacheco. I don't like Pacheco a lot this week, though. I mean, it's Denver. Both guys need a touchdown. And look, against Minnesota, Jamal could score. Like, there's definitely a potential for him to score. I don't know. I'm probably going Pacheco just because he's getting more work and more usage, and he's on the Chiefs. But it's close. But I'm probably going Pacheco.
Yeah, I can't love Pacheco's matchup. I do like, though, he just keeps getting involved even when we think they're not going to have to run or not going to be able to run. Yeah, I mean, I do like Pacheco a little bit more than Jamal Williams this week. All right, and then we do got a super chat from Ramu Chalasani. Welcome back. A 6-team league?
Okay.
16 or 6? Just 6? Okay.
Wait.
Yeah.
How are these your QBs in a 6-team league?
I don't know. All right, let's just go with the question. QBs are Goff or Carr. At running back, Swift, Pollard, Harris, Wilson.
There's no way this is a 6-team. There's no way this is a 6-team league.
I don't know. I mean, maybe, yeah, I don't know. Okay. At running back, I have, okay, so who should I start? Who should I flex? Okay, so first of all, he's asking QB, Goff or Carr.
I mean, Goff this week.
Yeah, kind of said it a little earlier. They're pretty much the same guy, but like Goff's matchup a little bit better. Running back, Swift, Pollard. I'm assuming Najee Harris and Jeff Wilson.
I mean, I guess I could see how it could be. Like if he started Najee, Swift. I guess I could see how it's a 6-team league because I mean he has Jefferson, Higgins, Waddle, Swift, and Harris. Those guys were all like drafted in the first.
So maybe some guys got hurt.
I don't know how. I mean, I guess your league must be hoarding quarterbacks, but okay. I don't know how many running backs we're starting here, but if we're starting 2, I'm going Swift and Pollard.
Yeah, got to be Swift and Pollard for sure. And then at the flex, well, don't know how many you're flexing. If you start 3 receivers, you're starting all 3 of those receivers. If you're not, then you have to flex whoever the third receiver is, like Waddle. If you're flexing one of the running backs, probably Harris over Wilson.
if I'm flexing, if you're starting all 3 wide receivers and you need a flex still, then I'm going Najee. But yeah, if it's a 2 running back, 2 wide receiver,
okay.
1 flex league, flex the wide receiver. Like start all the wide receivers. Okay, that makes more sense.
Makes more sense.
Yeah. And it's a good team for a 10-team league, by the way. It's a good team because you got, your QBs are a little weak, but you got Swift and Pollard and Najee. You got 3 stud wide receivers. I mean, it's a good team even for a 10-team league. So,
yeah, I'm just trying to think of the logistics. Like, how do you have a 6-team league? Like, does everyone make the playoffs? You know? So, I mean, but anyways, not the point. So yes, in 6th place, so you need to win if it's a 10-team league for sure. Though you do have a good team. So anyways, yeah, you want to start all those receivers. We'd like Goff better than Carr. Running backs, Swift for sure. Then Pollard, Harris, Wilson. Roberto,
what's up,
so
Roberto?
Long.
I already see his question. Oh man,
you know what? This is a legit question. Let's see what your gut says about this. Sutton or Elijah Moore? You want the 2 points or the 0 points?
Exactly. I guess you got to go Elijah Moore. I guess.
You do have to go Elijah Moore.
Brutal.
You know what? A lot of times I ask myself when I'm in one of these situations where it's like a deep league or a competitive league, like one of the end game leagues, and I have to throw somebody in the flex or I have to like grab somebody off waivers. You know, I always preach upside. So I said, what would Roberto do? What's the spicy call here? What's going to give me the upside? And it doesn't always work out. But you know what? At least I feel good that I went for it. You know what I mean? I didn't play it safe.
No, like last week in our King League, I threw Zachamedius in our flex because it's a 3 wide receiver, 2 flex, super flex league. It's a very deep league. And I think we have like 7 bench spots. It's a very deep league. I threw Zachamedius in there thinking like, well, it's a great matchup and he can always hit on a home run. It didn't work out, but
You never know though. Lightning does strike once in a while. Uh-oh. All right. You know what? Only because I think we're pretty much caught up here. I don't know if you're ready. Big Lenny has entered the chat.
Big Lenny.
It's been a while since Big Lenny was with us.
I don't know what my debacle. You know what's funny? So if you're not in our Discord, you need to be in our Discord because it's awesome. But we have this user 24. He's pretty well known in the Discord, and he got really upset that we didn't have AJ Brown in ranked as our top 12 wide receiver last week. And he posted this huge long comment about it, and then everybody started copy and pasting it and tagging me. And the irony is, I don't even do our rankings. Why is everybody coming after me? But I went to put AJ Brown in the top 12 last week, but I don't even do the rankings. I'm like, wait a minute, I don't even rank him. What is this? But anyways, yes, AJ Brown. Don't worry, he's back. Don't worry, he's back in the must start this week. Everybody can relax.
Yep.
He's back in the must start this week. It's okay. And now look, but I'm just gonna tell you right now, he just had a huge game. He's gonna score like 5 points this week. Just be ready for it. But just letting you know, that's what AJ Brown does. This is what he does.
I mean, you got to think he used it all up when he faced his former team. Like, he's going to coast this week. He's celebrating. He's like, I got that GM fired. He's good. No. Yeah, you'll be happy when you see the wide receiver video tomorrow. AJ Brown's still in there. But look, let's be honest. If I don't know where I had AJ Brown. I had him maybe like wide receiver 14 or something, as opposed to wide receiver 12. Did that really change your mind about whether you should start him or not? I mean, maybe if you had whoever I put 13th, I don't know who it was, but we still said to start him. We just didn't say no doubt must, don't start him over Jamar Chase this week, which I guess you could have, but still. I think this might be true. I think he won because of Elijah Moore instead of Cortland Sutton. So lesson learned: don't start any Denver Broncos. Yeah. I think that's the lesson. Okay, Ramu with a follow-up. Okay, so those are the running backs. Remember, we got Swift, Pollard, Harris.
I'm glad you understood what FU meant, because I was like, dang, he's going to throw an FU question at us?
FU. You paid
Like, come
just to
on,
say
man. Like,
FU.
we're not that bad. We're not that bad, right? You got to throw an FU
You
question
guys,
at us? Like,
you
dang.
cost me your week. Oh, no. I'm assuming that's what it means. Let's go with that.
I think
Follow-up
you're
question.
right. I think I'm wrong and you're right. Yes.
All right. Should I go after Bam Knight, James Cook on waivers? And remember, the running backs were Swift, Pollard, Harris, and Wilson. So I think we got to go with what we said before. Drop Wilson, but for which one?
Yeah, I look, maybe I'll be wrong on this, but I like Cook more, because I do think when Carter comes back, it's not going to be like, look, Carter, obviously the Jets like Carter more than Ty Johnson and James Robinson. So I think it's going to be more like a split backfield when he comes back. Which is what we're seeing in Buffalo. But again, James Cook is a rookie who they drafted this year, who has, again, like these other rookies, other than Dameon Pierce, slowly started, like we saw it a couple weeks ago, like he's starting to get a little more work even when like the game's close, and then he's starting to get even a little more work when the game, and then we saw last week like the full breakout. So I just feel better that Cook will hold on to that role rest of the season, where I'm a little worried about Knight when Carter comes back.
And that's the thing is, look, if you remember 2 weeks back, I think it was week 11, James Cook had one of his highs in touches, which wasn't a ton, but it was like 11 carries, and he caught some targets. And so I was like, okay, maybe, like, is this when it starts? I said, let me wait and see before I say, hey, go pick up Cook. Let's wait and see what happens. And the next week he did nothing. Like, they did barely use him. So I was like, okay, it was just a fluke. Well, then this past week, now all of a sudden he has his season high in touches. So now you have to actually take it seriously. I think Cook is the guy, because again, with Knight, I think he might technically be the lead back, but Michael Carter will get some touches. And so that just means like Zonovan Knight, instead of 15 carries, maybe he gets 12 carries. Instead of 5 catches, it goes down to like 2 catches. Like, that's fringe, right? Very, very fringe startable. So, all right. And then we got David Price. 10-team standard league, pick one for the flex. Amari Cooper, okay, not loving him. Let's see who else you got. Jeff Wilson, Devontae Smith, Pacheco, or Knight. So we're picking one.
Yeah, and it's standard scoring. I probably would pick Smith, but I don't know if I like him as much in standard. Like, man, I mean, it should be Cooper, but I can't feel great about him after last week. And now a tough matchup on the road. Another tough matchup on the road. Well, that last week wasn't a tough matchup, other than the fact that it was Deshaun Watson in Houston. I think I'm going in standard scoring. I think I'm going Pacheco, because you're not worried like, okay, he's not going to catch any passes, like, big deal. He gets run. He's on the Chiefs. He can always score. I think I'm going Pacheco in standard scoring.
I feel like if I liked his matchup a little better, I would go Pacheco. I like Devontae Smith. I mean, obviously had a nice game last week. Everybody in Philly had a nice game. AJ Brown used it all up last week. He's not going to get anything, so it's going to be all Devontae Smith. No, but look, Devontae Smith actually is not a bad matchup either. The Giants have been good mostly on defense. Their pass defense has started to falter a little bit. We just saw Terry McLaurin kind of unexpectedly have a big game. I think I like Devontae Smith a little bit better. I know standard, obviously that evens things out a little bit, but I'm leaning Smith. Pacheco would probably be my number 2 pick, and then I'd probably have Cooper 3rd. Definitely want you to get second place, though. So hopefully that comes through for you.
Always nice having that bye week.
Yes, definitely want second place. All right.
I lost in our Dynasty League by less than a point. And if I would have won, I'd have the bye locked up. Now I have to win this week to get the bye. So it's like, so now I got to stress another week when it's less than a point.
Telling you, look, because Leonard Fournette barely scraped by and got whatever he got, like how many catches, I won by 0.2 of a point over. It was against Nate, one of our patrons, and I think he wound up being like the third, fourth highest scorer of the week, but I scraped by just because of that. And I'm like 0.8 of a point behind second place for the number 2 seed in that league. So you go back and basically revisit like all the terrible start decisions you made every week of the season. You're like, man, I should have, but you can't. Buddy Moon wants to know, should you drop Michael Carter for Cook? That's a good question.
That is a good question. I guess it comes down to, you believe that Michael Carter will still be the starter when he comes back. And I'm on the side that I do. Like, he was good last year. He was a starter before he got hurt, even with Bam Knight there. And the Jets, I mean, when I say starter, I don't mean like workhorse. I just mean like get slightly more work than the other guy. Like 1A, 1B. Like, think like, I don't know, like Lenny and Rashad White, something like that. And the Jets have such a good playoff schedule for running backs. Such a good schedule. But then there's a part of me that feels like but then there's a part of me that feels like maybe James Cook is that guy this year who comes on right when it matters, does nothing all year, and then right when it matters, like, just goes off.
What makes me worried a little bit with Carter is that I would have said, I mean, I'd take a chance on Donovan Knight started to kind of come on because Michael Carter just didn't play. That's the thing. He wasn't playing. So they had to go with Knight, you know? And then I guess they could have gone with James Robinson. There's a reason they're not going with James Robinson. But I do feel Carter is going to have a role. Like, it's not like, oh, Knight owns the backfield now. No, he's playing because Carter's hurt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I look at it this way. Like you said, it's going to be a timeshare. It's probably going to be Knight and Carter, and it's going to be Cook and Singletary. Who's got the better offense? Probably Buffalo. Definitely Buffalo. Not probably. Definitely Buffalo. I feel like Cook has the upside because we've kind of seen what Michael Carter can do, and it's good-ish in flashes. I think we haven't seen yet what Cook can do. So I like Cook, so I would do that.
Yeah, I'd probably do it too. There's like a voice in my head telling me that like James Cook is going to be that guy rest of the season.
I mean, I think it's worth finding out, right?
Yeah.
Brian, desperate with Burks hurt. All right, let's see who's the best desperation to pick up. Got some decent options here. Got Boyd, Rondell Moore, Woods, Chark, Nico McKenzie, or DeAndre Carter.
I'm going to go back to Chark again. I like him this week. Keep talking about it. At home against a bad Minnesota secondary. He looked good last week. Goff's looking good. The offense is looking good. I like Chark.
I think Moore's too risky. You know, he's coming off an injury. We don't even know his status yet, but not like a great matchup either. So I would say no to Moore, especially because now Hollywood is back. Boyd, I think we've been there, done that. You saw, look, I don't think you can rightfully roster him in fantasy after that drop last week. He just deserves it. Woods, no. McKenzie is a maybe. Nico, just the matchup is terrible. So I'm going to agree. I'm going to go Chark. Okay, and then we have Rico Baptiste, George Pickens, or Burks rest of season.
I got to go Burks. I mean, he's been looking good, and then he caught that nice touchdown and unfortunately got concussed. But at least he's involved. At least he's the number one guy. George Pickens, I mean, like, will it happen? I don't know. I thought it would, but it's not. So give me Burks.
I just don't know what to make of Pickens. That's the thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I know Burks is the number one guy in Tennessee when he's healthy. And Burks has looked really good lately. So even though he probably won't play this week, rest of the season, if you ask me, I'll go Burks.
Yeah.
All right, Viper 14 bite. First week of playoffs this week. Interesting that some team, because there's a lot of teams on bye this week. So it's interesting to have the playoffs when there's so many teams not playing. They're not good teams, granted, right? They're luckily, I don't know if they planned it that way, but these teams that are off are bad teams mainly. But all right, so need one for the flex. You got Najee, you got Pacheco, you got White, and hoping to get Cook off waivers. So need one.
I think out of this group, I got to go Najee. Don't love the matchup, but like Rachaad White against San Francisco, oof, that's brutal. Pacheco against Denver, that's not great. I mean, Najee is not great either, but at least Najee's been looking good. We know the touches are there. He catches some passes. I think out of this group, I'm going Najee.
I mean, look, PPR, you'd like to think it would be Rachaad White because he's getting those receptions. Like you said, this is almost as bad a matchup as you can get. I mean, if he doesn't score that touchdown late, you're kind of disappointed with what Rachaad White did, and Lenny was still involved. So if it was standard, I might lean Pacheco, but yeah, I'll go with Najee. Don't love Najee this week, but don't hate him either. But I like him better than those other options. So gonna lean Najee. Good luck in the playoffs. All right. I just want to give a shout out here to Mr. Jones because the very first comment of our show, which was 2.5 hours ago, and he's still with us.
Wow.
I don't know. Maybe he went back and had dinner and then came back. I don't know. But I'm just going to assume you've been watching the whole time. So shout out to you. Is Trent Sherfield worth a roster spot? Which is a good question. Yes, I mentioned Trent Sherfield, 2 weeks ago on the stash thing. And yes, he scored a 75-yard touchdown on the first play of the game last week. But do you think he's worth a roster spot?
Only in deeper leagues. I mean, he's not going to catch a 75-yard probably ever again this season. But he has been. Look, he has been involved. I mean, we've seen other games where he's been involved, scored touchdowns, even with Hill and Waddle healthy. It's not like he's, completely not involved. But like in like a 10 team or even like a shallow 12 team, probably not. But in deeper leagues, I think he's worth holding. Yeah.
Well, I know you can't disagree too much because I did notice there is one league where if I'm right, you added Trent Sherfield. Did you not?
Yeah, that's a dynasty league, though. That's a deep dynasty league. So, but yes,
it's very deep benches. But
I think it was the dynasty. I did add him in one league. Yes, I think it was our dynasty league. Let me check. But yeah,
we have crazy deep rosters, and I did pick him up in one league. That is very, very tough to get anybody off waivers. He is what I would call the very rare wide receiver handcuff because look, you saw it. Jalen Waddle went out. I mean, God forbid anything happens to Jalen Waddle, right? Jalen Waddle not going to miss any time. But what if Ty Hill or Jalen Waddle just out? Trent Sherfield is the number 2 receiver on that team if that happens because right now he's the number 3 guy. Cedric Wilson's done nothing. Mike Gesicki is not a factor. So all of a sudden you're the number 2 receiver on a pretty good passing offense with the most accurate quarterback in the league. I think that's worth something. Yeah. So I'm not saying you should go pick him up everywhere, but if you have Hill or Waddle, I think he's kind of a sneaky handcuff stash. But it would have to be a deep league. Like 12 team at least.
I picked him up in our dynasty league, which
yes. Yeah. Okay.
Obviously a deep league.
All right. We got a trade question. We gotta get
all right.
Trading for Garrett Wilson to give away Higgins from Daniel Hernandez.
That feels like too much.
That's a spicy trade.
That feels like a bit of recency bias. Like Higgins to me is like a no doubt stud. You just start him and don't even think about it kind of guy. And I know Garrett Wilson's been great the last 2 weeks, but we're talking about 2 weeks versus pretty much the entire season. with Higgins, apart from like the games he missed, and I still want Higgins.
I think you have to keep Higgins. Look, and here's the thing: you're seeing all the look. We talked up Gary Wilson quite a bit last week, and we were saying the same thing. Gary Wilson could be that guy down the stretch, and you've probably seen out there some videos and articles and things. Gary Wilson, league winner. Yeah, maybe. But what if Mike White goes back to being Mike White of last year after his second start? I mean, are you really going to bank on that? And you say, oh, Gary Wilson, he's basically, if you take away the Zach Wilson games, he's basically this year's Jamar Chase. But Jamar Chase had Joe Burrow. Gary Wilson has Mike White. It's not the same thing. I'm just saying it's not the same thing. I'm not going to take a chance. Like if you're offering somebody different, maybe, but I wouldn't give away T. Higgins. So I know that doesn't seem unreasonable, but yeah, I'm not doing it. And then, okay, we talked a lot about Cook. Obviously, pickup. Is he worth the number one of every waiver position?
I think so, because again, we're in week 14. Like, you're going to use it in week 18. You know what I mean? It's like the coach who, gets to halftime with 3 timeouts. It's like, good job. But like, you know what I mean? Like what are you saving those timeouts for? Like, what are you saving the number one for? You're hoping in week 16, like there's a major running back injury and you can pick up this guy, but most handcuffs are going to be rostered by now anyway. So yeah, I'm using the number one on Cook, definitely.
Yeah, at this point in the season, sure, why not? I mean, if you're talking about like spending up all your fab, I would be hesitant because you still want to save a couple of bucks just in case. But a number one waiver claim, I mean, who's really going to come along that's going to be at this point in the season? Playoffs are right around the corner. So yeah, you can do that. And then one more regular chat, Blue Owl Games. Drop one. Jameson Williams or Madison?
I'm dropping Jameson Williams.
Yep.
Like I talked about it a lot this year. Like coming off ACL, had no preseason, had no OTAs, had no rookie camp, has no game action. Expecting Jameson Williams to come back week 13 or 14 and be fantasy relevant was always seemed like a stretch to me. Always seemed like a stretch. I mean, maybe by week 17 he's fantasy relevant, but you got to still be playing by week 17. You know what I mean? Like you got to be one of the last 2 teams standing. Madison is at least a Dalvin Cook injury away from actually being a true league winner. Like we know this, we've seen this. It's not like we know this. So I'd rather hold on to Madison.
Definitely would rather hold Madison for sure. Was never optimistic Jameson Williams would do anything. I mean, I'm surprised he was activated this early, but then not surprised he didn't do anything. So I'm not going to count on Jameson Williams. You definitely want that really high upside handcuff at running back, especially. And then a very similar question about a player that will probably do nothing this year. Drop Pickens, People-Jones, or OBJ.
Yeah, I'm dropping Odell at this point. Now, look, he's still got to meet with the Bills. Then he's got to make his decision, which will probably take forever. And now we're hearing all these reports like his knee, he's not even ready. Like his knee isn't even good. I'm dropping Odell.
Here's what's ridiculous is that we heard like 2 weeks ago, oh, he's medically cleared, no limitations. And then all of a sudden, like he's not going to be ready till January. He's not even going to play. Like what, like, how did that happen? Like who cleared him is what I want to know. Like, how did this change all of a sudden when he hasn't done anything? It's a whole weird situation. He still hasn't even signed with the team. Like, forget it. Just forget it. Even if he signed tomorrow, I wouldn't pick him up.
Yeah, remember the report was like, he's going to make a decision after Thanksgiving. I didn't know after Thanksgiving meant like mid-December. Like, I mean, I guess technically it's after Thanksgiving. It's like if my wife's watching, I love you. But it's like when my wife says like, 5-ish. And what she really means is like 7. It's like, man, that's 5-ish. It's like 7 p.m. You said 5. No, I said 5-ish. It's like the same thing, right? It's like after Thanksgiving. Well, it's technically after Thanksgiving, but it's like mid-December. Yeah, done with Odell.
Yeah, I think they got the wrong holiday. They meant after Christmas or New Year's maybe. All right, let's go back to the super chats here. Next Thanksgiving.
Next Thanksgiving.
Ali wants to know, drop Jalen Warren for Isaiah McKenzie.
Not for McKenzie, because again, Warren at least is a high-end handcuff. You know, if Najee were to get hurt, and look, he's already dealt with a couple things this year, right? He had the foot injury early in the year, now he had this abdominal strain. I mean, Najee's, is a tank, so it's hard to get this guy off the field. But if he was to miss games, Jalen Warren's going to at least be, a startable running back. Isaiah McKenzie, nah.
Yeah, and I mean, you said you dropped Gabe. You said you're just done with him. McKenzie has been a little better than Gabe lately, but I mean, yeah, are you really going to start him? I doubt it. Just go with the handcuff, go with the running back. I know we keep saying this, but again, go for upside. Are you really going to be starting Isaiah McKenzie? Hopefully not. And then asking about a defensive streamer for week 15. Sometimes to break out the schedule here. Week 15, Pittsburgh gets Carolina and Washington. Where is Washington? Oh, that's why I can't see them. They're on bye this week. Okay, so
they get the Giants.
Giants haven't really been turning it over that much. I'd go with Pittsburgh. What do you think?
Pittsburgh's actually been a little better. With TJ Watt, it's made a big difference to him. I mean, 2 weeks ago against Indy, they scored 10 points. This past week, they got 4 against the Falcons. I mean, not great, but against Carolina, I'd probably go Pittsburgh.
Yeah. I mean, you can drop Conklin, go for Pittsburgh, keep Warren. Good job planning ahead. I think that's smart. And don't blame you for dropping Gabe. I mean, don't really need him at this point, and we definitely don't expect much from him this coming week. All right, and then back to Rico with another one. 2 guys we talk about a lot. Who do you like better on waivers and why? Cook, Knight.
I like Cook a little bit better. Again, I talked about it. I think when Michael Carter comes back, it's going to be a split. I just have this feeling that James Cook is that guy this year that comes on just at the right time. Well, if you're still alive, and finishes strong. So I'm going James Cook.
Yeah, he's saying he can only grab one because of his bench depth, and that's fine. I don't think you need both. Yeah, go Cook. And again, if you're in a full PPR league, I know we're saying, Knight caught 5 passes last week. When Michael Carter comes back, he's probably going to be catching passes. Game scripts, down from Minnesota, throwing it more. Anyways, bottom line, prefer Cook over Knight. And we talked about them a lot, which makes sense because they were in the waiver video. I think this is different. Okay. Some more spicy trade talk from Daniel Hernandez. Would you trade Dalvin Cook and Chris Godwin to get Jacobs and Mike Evans? I mean, I will say Josh Jacobs just is doing what he's doing. Just go with Jacobs and he'll win you your league is what it looks like.
I know that's kind of how it's feeling, right? It just feels like Josh Jacobs is that guy this year that
I know, crazy enough.
Yeah, it is crazy, but it just feels like he's that guy this year that's it doesn't even matter. He's just gonna finish as the RB1 and he's gonna win leagues. Yeah, I know Mike Evans hasn't been great, but I think I still take the Jacobs and Evans side just to get Jacobs.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Again, I'm going with the guy who's been usually when a guy has a season like this and he's just beasting out, I think he's going to finish that way. I'll do it just to get Jacobs and just see if he's that guy because he's been in, All right, let's go with a nice easy one. Is Judy a good play or avoid all Broncos?
No and yes. Not a good play. Avoid all Broncos.
You can very safely avoid every Bronco. Although, their kicker has been no, I'm just kidding. No kickers. All right. Jay has a QB dilemma with Fields on bye. Got Watson. Yeah. All right. So instead of Watson, would you prefer White, Hundley, or Tannehill? Must win.
I kind of like Tannehill this week. Although, Burks is out, I won't like him as much. But still, he's been pretty good. He gets a great matchup against Jacksonville. He runs a little here and there. White against Buffalo. Man, I don't know if I can do it. Huntley, I think I'm going Tannehill here.
Well, I think maybe I might say Tannehill, but if Burks is out, they really got nobody to throw to. And that's what I'm worried about. And I don't know that I feel like he'll have to throw it. He's never thrown it a lot this year. Yeah, that's the thing. With Burks out, I just have no confidence in that passing game. I don't like Huntley this week, probably the rest of this year. The only guy I might switch out is White. And again, don't love White's matchup either. So I feel like either you're banking on pretty much garbage time numbers from White, or just pass, maybe not garbage time, but just he puts up a ton of yardage, just like he did last week because he needs to. But he also throws a couple of picks, you know what I mean? So
yeah.
Do you think Deshaun Watson will take a step forward enough that he could outscore basically what Mike White did last week?
No.
I think maybe he could.
I'm not trusting Deshaun Watson. It's not like now he gets to go home and play a bad. He's on the road against a really good defense who's fighting for a playoff spot, fighting for playoff positioning, on a roll right now. Maybe instead of 5 fantasy points, you get 10 or 12 this week. But, I'm not expecting a huge Deshaun Watson game. I could definitely see White being the option here. He definitely will throw for more yards than Tannehill. It's the Jags. It's the Jags.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Cincinnati's been so good lately. Yeah. I don't know. If it was me, I think I would go White. I don't love any of these guys, but obviously you need to win and you have a dilemma, which is why you asked. So I'm leaning White. Chris is leaning Tannehill.
White probably has more upside. So if you need to win, probably go with White. He probably has more upside than Tannehill.
Well, I will say this. If Treylon Burks plays, for sure, go Tannehill.
Yeah.
Hopefully that makes your decision a lot easier. Okay. And then Steven, stash one. All right. Njoku, Komet, or Dulcich. I think we can ignore the last name. So Njoku or Komet? Kind of like both.
Yeah, I want to say Njoku, but man, after seeing Deshaun Watson last week, I'm not even sure. He might ruin Njoku. I think I'm stashing Komet. At least he's got Fields. He looked good again last week. Komet I'm talking about, and Fields. So I think I feel best about Komet.
Yeah, I think if Fields is there, you got to feel good about Komet. I did like Njoku last week before he got hurt, but he should. I think they said he's back practicing, or he's going to be back practicing this week, so he should be back. But again, I think it's going to be another week at least until you can feel kind of good about any of these Browns, and even then, it's still kind of a crapshoot. There's no guarantee. So, look, I don't think Deshaun Watson's going to look terrible all the rest of the year. I think he'll obviously knock the rust off and get better, but not this week. I'll go Komet. Obviously, you're stashing anyways. You don't care if Njoku plays this week.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll go Komet.
I really just wish Jacoby Brissett was still the quarterback. It was so much better for everybody. Deshaun Watson even ruined Nick Chubb. He even ruined Nick Chubb.
Kind of.
I mean, Nick Chubb against the Texans. I was even saying Nick Chubb against the Texans has a 150-yard floor. Deshaun Watson is like, hold my glass of water.
Do you think if Deshaun Watson is bad the next 2-3 games, do you think that they send him at the final week? Maybe more than one. You think he just plays?
No, there's no. You can't sit it. You literally paid a guy who's more than likely a sexual predator $230 million guaranteed, knowing he was probably going to get suspended. You can't now bench him, even if he's really bad. Like, you can't bench him. No, they're playing him for the rest of the season, even if he's awful.
All right, we'll see. I'll go commit for this one though. Long story short, just so you know, guys, we're toward the end here. There's a few more minutes left. I think we're caught up on the super chats for now. Just so you know, I have a ton of questions. We're trying to answer as many as we can. It's just not feasible, so that's why we use that super chat feature. And if you do want to ask some questions, or maybe you feel like we didn't get to yours because, again, there's a lot that we just couldn't get to, you can join the Discord. It is free. It is easy. It is always available. We're not on there 24 hours a day, but we're on there every day, and we answer as many questions as we can. But also, you can kind of get the feel of our community, which now we're at, I don't know, over 800 people in the Discord. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely over 800. Yeah.
I mean, for something that we just started up like less than a year ago, it's not too bad.
Yeah.
So it's growing. This is probably the fastest growing fantasy community that is out there. Thanks to you guys. We appreciate you watching. We're going to do a few more questions, and I like to call it the lightning round because we're going to just do quick reactions here. Try to get some questions that are about players we haven't answered yet. Again, trying to prioritize waiver wire and trade tonight. Don't forget, Saturday night, we do this exact same thing, meaning we're live with you for 3 hours, answering as many questions as possible to help you win. So with that said, you know what? Typically discourage spamming, but I think I like the way that you've kind of nicely spaced them out. Like, instead of just hitting the same question over and over again, copy paste every 2 seconds, it's like every few minutes. So, all right, ASM 28. I think he's been on for like 2 hours as well. Here's your time. Start 2. DJ Moore, Deontay Foreman, Darius Slayton, or Amari Cooper.
All guys I kind of like and kind of don't like.
I know you kind of want to like DJ Moore.
I mean,
with Sam Darnold, it's like a magical connection.
I mean, yes, but then they're also playing the
Seattle.
Yeah. And look, Seattle's secondary is really good this year. Really good.
Yeah.
Like, I don't expect DJ Moore to have a huge game this week. He could have an okay game, like a startable game, but I don't expect DJ Moore to have a huge game. Foreman could have a big game, but the risk is always that, like, they're playing from behind and now he's not doing anything. Slayton could definitely have a big game, except he's got to go against Darius Slay and James Bradbury this week. Don't love that. Cooper should be the obvious answer here, but he's stuck with Deshaun Watson now. So,
yeah, all of these guys are really in tough spots if you think about it. This makes this hard.
I mean, I think I would still roll with Cooper over these guys. I just feel like it's just hard for me to bench Cooper after one, even over these guys. Over these guys, I don't think I can bench Cooper. So I'm gonna go Cooper.
Right. And I will say this about Cooper is, even though he didn't do much, he still got a lot of targets. I mean, he's the guy there. So
yeah,
I think it will be a little better than last week. I do think over these guys, yes, I'll go Cooper. I want to say Slayton, but man, it's such a bad matchup, so brutal.
I know.
I might lane DJ Moore.
Ooh.
Well, I assume it's PPR.
I think I would play Slayton over DJ Moore, honestly. I mean, Slayton's been really good. He's been really good lately. He's basically all they have to throw to. Like, I mean, it's really close between all these guys. I don't know. If it's my team, I'm probably going Cooper and Slayton. But you could talk me into Foreman over Slayton.
So we're definitely going Cooper. And then for the others, just kind of close your eyes, throw a dart at the screen, and
and hope.
No, actually, that's a bad idea. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Go Slayton. We'll go Slayton. Tanner Nelson says, should I trade Joe Mixon? I have Pirine. Samaji look better. Yeah. Okay. And I talked about this earlier. I do think he'll get a few more touches, but Mixon's still the guy. But what do you think? Trade Joe Mixon?
I mean, Joe Mixon is a guy I would like to be trading if I can. But as I always say, you've got to be trading him high. Like, don't go trading Joe Mixon for Zonovan Knight or James Cook or the hottest, running back commodity right now, because we've seen these hot running back commodities can cool off pretty quick. But if you could trade Joe Mixon and get like a stud wide receiver, like if you could go out right now and trade Joe Mixon and get like a Jalen Waddle coming off a down game, somebody like that, I would definitely do it.
And I think the reason that you would be okay trading Joe Mixon is not because of Pirine, it's because of his schedule. And we talked about this. If you guys haven't seen our top 12 playoff running back video, check that out. He's not top 5. But anyways, I think you can do it. But again, make sure you get a good return. This is not selling highs. You're kind of selling low right now. All right, then we got one more super chat before we actually do the lightning round. Chris wants to know, if Walker can't go, do you go White, Zonovan, or Dallas? Meaning DJ.
I think I gotta go Zonovan. I don't know. DJ Dallas. I mean, it is a good matchup against Carolina, but man, I don't think so. And White against San Francisco, can't do it. I think I'm going Zonovan.
I feel like I want to say White. It should be White, but this week particularly, just terrible matchup.
Yeah.
I'll lean Zonovan. And look, Dallas, I get it. He might be technically the lead back, but it's going to be some sort of a committee. And I like DJ Dallas, and everyone likes the picture of him with the bug eyes when he's like, but yeah, I'm literally, that's a reason just to have him on your roster so you can look the picture. If you know, which side, I'm from Miami, a huge university. I watched him play in college. Love DJ Dallas. I'm not picking him up or starting him in any of my fantasy leagues or Travis Homer. All right. That was just an excuse for me to show my you. All right. Now, the officially lightning round, we'll do about 2 minutes of questions that are not start sit, just because, guys, remember, we're going to do that Saturday night. Okay, that's not a quick question. Let's see. Ooh,
we got a trade one right here. How about this trade question?
Ooh. Trade Etienne and Garrett Wilson for JJ. I would take JJ.
I'm taking JJ. Yeah, taking JJ. He looks like, taking JJ.
I mean, if I look, nothing against Garrett Wilson. I think he could be a stud down the stretch, but it's not guaranteed. I'll take the guy who is a stud. And Etienne, I'm starting to worry. I mean, I've been worried most of the season, but yeah, the worries are back. Here's a good one. What's up, Hector?
What's up, Hector?
So, all right. Let's see. Shrek 2 still on DVD. I have Geno, Mariota, Ryan, and Tannehill in 2 QB league. Huntley, Purdy, Darnold are available. What should I do? Do you pick up any of those guys over any of those guys?
I mean, yeah, because Matt Ryan, even in 2 QB league, I don't want to start Matt Ryan. Even Tannehill is borderline. Mariota may lose his job. I'm kind of interested in Purdy.
Mm-hmm.
Because I believe so much that Kyle Shanahan will put him in positions to succeed. He won't ask him to do what he can't do. Because look, he has the defense.
Yep.
He doesn't need to ask him to do things he can't do. He doesn't need to be like, go win us football games. It's like, no, our defense can win us football games. Get the ball in the hands of Debo. Get the ball in the hands of CMC. Get the ball in the hands of Ayuk and Kittle and let them do their things. And I think, you know, he can be like Jimmy G as far as fantasy goes, which in a 2 QB league is fine as your QB2. And I also don't mind Huntley because of his rushing upside. But Lamar, they're saying like maybe 1 to 3 weeks. So the thing with Purdy is you know you have Purdy for the rest of the season. Huntley might only be a week or two. So I would probably prioritize Purdy. I'm not getting done. Don't even ask me about Don. I'm going to talk about it.
Yeah. If I were you, I'd drop Mariota. He's on a bye this week. And then when they come back, he might not even be the starter. And even if he is, like, what is he doing for you? Purdy can do at least as much, if not more. So I drop Mariota now and I pick up Purdy. This is like you said, the perfect system for an inexperienced quarterback. All he has to do is get the ball to CMC, get the ball to Debo, and he's still got a really good tight end and Ayuk. Yeah. So I would definitely rather have Purdy over Mariota. All right. Let's see. Just living life. Need to pick up 2 from the waiver wire. Gallup, Rondale, Woods. Is that Richie James or Nico Collins?
Well, definitely Gallup. I feel like Gallup's a must-add if he's out there. And then it's between Nico and Moore for me.
Yeah.
Nico's been sneaky good this year. He's just stuck in Houston. But he's getting like target shares. He's like putting up decent numbers. He's scoring a touchdown every so often. Do I like him more than Rondale Moore?
Yeah, I think I do. I think we look. Brandon Cooks maybe he doesn't play the rest of the season. Who knows?
Yeah.
So I don't like him this week. But look, Rondale Moore don't like him this week, and he might not even play this week. So you're not looking for this week anyways. So yeah, Gallup, and I like Nico Collins a lot preseason. So I wish that had been a quarterback, obviously. Yeah, I'd say Gallup and Nico also. All right, and then the super lightning round. I think y'all selling OBJ short. No, we're not. I like Komet with Fields healthy. So do we. Missed my super chat. No, we didn't. We answered both. And Gabe Davis or Devontae Smith. I guess start sit.
Smith.
Yeah, definitely. And then Spencer Chang talking about handcuff RBs. Josh Kelly or Dontrell Hilliard.
I think I gotta go Kelly. Hilliard's interesting, but I know Haskins was out last week, but I feel like if Henry goes down, it's going to be like Haskins as the hammer and Hilliard as the light. Like I don't think Hilliard's role is going to change significantly. So I think I like Kelly a little bit more than Hilliard.
Yeah, better system, better offense, really. Hilliard is okay, just only relevant, if Henry goes down, which won't happen. And do you think 73 Chevy wants to know, will Fields play all the way through week 17, even if the Bears keep losing?
Yeah, because there would have been no reason to even bring him back this week if they were going to shut him down at some point. So yes, he will keep playing.
Yeah. All right. I think that does it. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. Again, here always on Tuesday night to help you with your waiver decisions or trade questions. And we will be back on Saturday, as I mentioned, to do this again for your start sit questions. Get ready. We're going to have a lot. This is a must win for a lot of you. And we want to help you do that. So don't forget, we can help you also if you join the Discord. It is free. It is easy. You can also consider supporting us by becoming a patron. And the link for all that information is down below. All right. Good luck, and we'll see you on the weekend.